Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. This is going to be a good one, people. Make no mistake, I am hyped. We are about to get ready to kick off the first game in the first ever 12-team college football playoffs. I mean, make no mistake, people. I mean, you could say that this is just another game. I mean, there's been games against high-ranked teams battling out for a hypothetical national champion throughout the course of college history. We get it. Maybe it was only 4 teams through the past handful of years, and maybe, this game equivalent would have been in the regular season, whatever. Now we get a version of it. Now, maybe, again, in the BCS version where it's just 2 teams, same thing as well. You get a couple high-powered teams at the end of the season, and you're like, oh, if one of these teams win, it's a national champion here. If this team, you get like a mini sort of pseudo playoff developing back in the day. But make no mistake, people, there's just something extra exciting about like real playoff football, and the fact that the playoffs are on the home fields as well too. I think just seeing the vibes here pregame. I mean, if we had known Shane Gillis would have been on Countdown, we would have tuned in a little bit sooner. We would have watched the whole thing. Make no mistake, people. But the fans are hyped. Notre Dame, I mean, it's the atmospheres, of course, these are iconic schools, iconic atmospheres that a lot of these college playoff games are going to be taking place in. But the place is ready to go, people, and I'm excited as well, too. I can't wait to see what we're about to see here. And a good, nice sort of chance to rewatch Indiana as well, too, post-Ohio State. I think both these teams I think this will be a good one because, I mean, same with Notre Dame. Like, make no mistake, they're 7-point favorites. What does ESPN say right now? 6.5 right now? So plus 220 for Indiana on the money line. I mean, that's not bad, people. Do we have time? Get to moving, people. The sports books are about to close any second here. Notre Dame is running on the field as we speak. But, I mean, 6.5. I mean, Notre Dame doesn't necessarily have, and Marcus Freeman doesn't have like a rich history of these high-level games. And again, first ever 12-team playoff, but there have been high-level matchups throughout. And I don't know what Marcus Freeman's record is exactly in top 10 versus top 10, because that's the thing as well too, chat. Like, he has the 7th ranked team. It's not like it's just his record versus top 10 teams. It's like, as a good team, what's his record against the other good teams? And it might be sneaky good as well too. I'm just, you get a couple of national TV games in there where you have a bad performance. It just sticks with the people. But I think Indiana, with that sort of chip on their shoulder after Ohio State kind of dominated them pretty good. I don't remember what the final score was. Maybe only it wasn't like a 15-point game. Like, the final score was still pretty bad, but I mean, that was a pretty big blowout the entire time. Pause. But I don't know, matchup wise, this will be the most we've ever sat down and watched Notre Dame as well too. So this will be exciting because, make no mistake, Benjamin Morris got hurt about halfway through the season, and once he was out, that was our number reason to Ben Morrison's our guy, so that was just our number one reason to watch Notre Dame. And once he went out, we were on to the next team. I guess Travis Hunter up next. But playoff time, of course, we're going to be locked in. Coin up in the air. The Irish, the first win of the evening, winning the coin toss. The place is electric, people. I mean, this is crazy. And make no mistake, this is not Notre Dame colors. This is maize and blue. We still had to represent. This is not gold and navy or whatever we got going on here. Because I know sometimes, it might not be totally clear what it says. But we're representing, people. Go blue. And we'll be in the mix at some point. Whether or not we'll be in the 12-team playoff is one thing. But make no mistake, the Notre Dame fans are so crazy right now that, I mean, next year we might just go to a full like March Madness for 64 team. 68 teams do the first 4, the play-in games for the tournament. They might just expand it to a full level college basketball style bracket next year and just unleash the chaos. I guess you can't do it in March, pause, and name it March Madness. But, end of December, early January, mostly in January, but December delusion, chat? Do we call it December delusion, March Madness? I don't know. I don't know what they'll expand it to. I don't know how set we are for the 12-team playoffs going forward, but this environment is special. Marcus Freeman rizzing up Holly McGrath on the sideline pregame with the charming pregame interview. Do you want your coach to be charming, or do you want him to be locked in, focused, Belichick style, short answers? You know, do you want your coach to be winking at the sideline reporter to start the game? I mean, he's comfortable, clearly, and he's in his home field right now. I don't know. There's sometimes, chat, that it feels like home field advantage might go the other way. Where, I mean, there are times where just the energy of the crowd for the home team is obviously enough to affect the away team. But there are also times when the energy of the crowd is like directly against the away team. And that's when things obviously go really, really bad. But, I mean, right now the crowd is obviously so hyped up for Notre Dame football that it might actually be like, are they a little too nervous? And is Indiana the ones that, like, they're not even worried about us right now. They're 7-point favorites. Do they even know we're on the field? Like, the Notre Dame fans just see the gold helmets. They see college football playoffs. They see a top 10 ranking. And they're just blinded by the potential success that is about to happen. But Curtis Rourke as well. You know, Michael Penix, shout out, getting the start this week. We know he is Indiana. He started at Indiana, played his first few years of college football with the Hoosiers. So is it one of those schools you're like, okay, you know, there's something with Penix? Is Rourke, you know, are the Hoosiers a quarterback school, chat? Is that what we're about to find out here with Curtis Rourke? I don't know if that's what the draft boards would say. I don't know if that's what the NFL experts would say, but I think there is like a sneaky, could he be a mid to late round interesting prospect guy? Because he does have like a level of aggressiveness that he can play with as well. Maybe it can work against him, but Notre Dame right now hyped, dropping the running back for a negative loss. Is a negative loss mean a gain? That's a double negative. They dropped him for a loss. Maybe it would, a negative loss. That's crazy, chat. Do you get fantasy points for a negative loss? Okay, here we go. Rourke dropping back on his first play. A little too far up the sideline. Okay, we may have overestimated our guy Rourke. It's just what it is. We love giving people the benefit of the doubt. I guess one play in, should we not turn against him right away? Should we give him a shot? But make no mistake, tomorrow is the day, chat. Tomorrow is a stacked slate. Should we just look at the bracket here to start it off? The first third down of the game, 3rd and 13. Yeah, who exactly is the winner lining up to play? Georgia? Incomplete. 3 and out. 3 plays, -3 yards for Indiana. Tough start for the Hoosiers. And Indiana's fun as well, too, because, you know, shout out to the Indiana fans, the Hoosier fans all across the nation. I think, and I can't speak for all of Michigan fandom, but we don't have like a rivalry with Indiana, I wouldn't say. I don't even think there's like a trophy on the line when Michigan and Indiana play. You know, you get some of these historic Big Ten schools start matching up against each other, and they get to playing for, you know, Paul Bunyan, the Little Brown Jug, who knows what else. But I don't believe Indiana is one of those schools for Michigan. So there's not that, you know, and again, any school for Michigan is not going to be. Oh, Ohio State is like clearly 1, and Michigan State is like a clear number 2. It's just what it is. But, you know, number 3 can depend. I mean, Notre Dame, low-key, that could be number 3. That's tough. I mean, you know, last year we played Alabama in the college football playoffs. Bama, a little different last year because I don't think they were viewed maybe the same way as a lot. I mean, I don't think. I guess we know for a fact they weren't viewed the same way as a lot of the other Nick Saban teams. Mainly because all of the other Saban teams were ranked 1 and 2 in his other years there potentially. And then, you know, this team just being 4, it's like, well, this one sucks for Nick Saban. But, you know, taking down Alabama in a win, getting sort of that's not like a historic, they have a lot of matchups type of rivalry. I think the last time that they played before that bowl game was in the bowl game with Brady. I could be wrong about that, but you know, every college football fan with Saban that's not Alabama obviously had their eye on Bama. So when I mean, that was the other tough part about being a part of the Saban Bama team was against, any other team in the country. It was a quote unquote national championship. It was not, I guess maybe national championship opportunity is not the right word, but it was definitely going to be the biggest game of your career in college football. That's for sure. It was going to be the highest profile, most eyes. Indiana with the interception. Was that the first play? Riley Leonard. And that's the other thing I think we should have mentioned. I mean, with Rourke specifically for this matchup is I think he is the better quarterback, at least tonight. So I don't know. Again, we can't speak from a knowledgeable standpoint. We're just taking an educated guess, chat. But I don't know if the talent disparity, especially with some injuries as well, too. But is the roster disparity enough to make up for the quarterback difference? I mean, again, 6.5-point favorites. But, it's playoff time now, chat, for the college football. And I know, again, like we're saying, maybe there's been versions of it over the past, and there's been high-level games, and there's obviously been mini playoffs as well, too, over the last couple of years. So you've needed to rely on your quarterback. But now that you've actually got to win, 3 games, potentially, if you don't have one of those top 4 seed buys, I mean, I don't know if it fully becomes like a pro-style playoff, because, we have seen teams without the best quarterback win the Super Bowl as well, too. You can win it with defense and your quarterback, if he can move the ball, if he can move the sticks, if he completes passes on third down, doesn't turn the ball over, you're going to be in good shape. But how will the college football playoffs kind of emulate that as the playoffs themselves, sort of look more like the NFL playoffs as well? And I mean, a great job of moving the ball for the Indiana offense as well. I guess, unfortunately, they got a penalty, so now they're backed up over midfield again at the 49. 1st and 20. Can we get a field goal out of this turnover? Yikes. A drive killer right away, chat. Oh, and they run the ball. I don't know if they were thought maybe a 10-yard gain there. 8, pick up some easy yards, but against one of the best run defenses in the nation, and I know Indiana as well, their run defense is pretty respected, but I think Notre Dame is also up there in the mix. And who's number 56 for Notre Dame going with the Batman eye makeup? He's got I guess it's not Batman necessarily, but he's got like a superhero, Incredible style mask for his eye makeup around his eyes. I mean, it looks pretty intimidating. Definitely unique. What exactly did the Batman... Was it just smudged from the Batman film? Because Bruce Wayne in, I guess, Christian Bale. No, he's not Bruce. There are a lot of Bruce Waynes. Christian Bale didn't wear it at all, right? There's some scenes where he has the cowl off, where he doesn't have it on at all, but does he have it on at any point throughout? Maybe under the mask, but I guess, again, sort of mask off. We should know these movies well enough, chat, to... Maybe, I don't know, is that too much? Would you know them too well? And there we go on a 3rd and 14. Indiana with the big completion down the sideline. So Rourke does not throw into the middle of the field. Jump ball. Passes to the receivers on the outside. Wow, was able to corral it through his legs, was juggling it. And there we go, a pass into the middle of the field, picked off by Watts. Is that Watts? That's Watts, yes sir. We should have mentioned him when we talked about Benjamin Morrison, because we do have a lot of Xavier Watts stock as well too. Should we stop throwing around such emotional terms for these football players? We love this guy. He's our dude. He's our boy. We think he's a really good football safety. We think if he was on the Colts, he'd be a valuable addition to the team. But turning the ball over right away, unbelievable. Yikes. Indiana is already feeling like they're going to lose this game in the first quarter. And like I said, I guess this is why he doesn't throw into the middle of the field, chat. I mean, Watts was like the 4th defender around the receiver, but he really wasn't even around the receiver. He was kind of behind the play. The pass was overthrown, and there was already like three defenders in the coverage around the receiver where he was trying to throw it. So Rourke, he's going to need a little fine-tuning before he maybe gets into the second or third round of the NFL draft. But he's got a couple of quarters to clean this up. He's got a chance to try to fix it, see what's happening. But the chance to face Georgia, Chad, a well-rested Georgia, a prepared Georgia team, Kirby Smart with some time to game plan, that would be New Year's Day. I guess, of course, New Year's. This, of course, would set us up for the round of bowl games. I guess, so these, aren't technically bowl games. Okay. I guess I didn't realize that. I just kind of assumed they were. I mean, make no mistake, next year they will be. If the NBA Cup got a sponsorship this year, they will be sponsoring these early round playoff games. I mean, that feels like an easy thing to do, right? Because these games are not happening. You're creating these games for the playoff anyway. So you're like already creating new bowl games. You know, you're just creating the name for the playoff game. You're not creating the bowl game and then having to be like, oh, well, now it's a Big Ten team versus a Pac-12 team, or not the conferences exist the same way anymore. But, you know, in the old school day, you're sort of reverse engineering it where, again, it seemed like they had the bowls and then the teams would be assigned. Now you have the college football playoff first round already in place. Just make this Indiana-Notre Dame game the, random sponsorship corporate bowl, and you'll be good to go. Just get 4 more of those. And then next year you're set up for the Fiesta Bowl, or next week, Fiesta Bowl, Sugar Bowl, Rose Bowl, Peach Bowl. This year, the Orange Bowl, the Cotton Bowl. And then I guess, the national championship is also technically not a bowl game. But I think that's okay. I think we can live with that, seeing as how it is, the national championship. At least you get a trophy for winning the game. So is that too many trophies? 3 trophies? So could you get 2 bowl game trophies this year, chat? Because in the 14 playoff, it was 1 bowl game, and then you played in the championship. So you could have gotten 2 trophies. But now, like, again, Indiana, Georgia, they play in the Sugar Bowl. Georgia's Notre Dame, shout out, they're going to win this game. There's 11 minutes left in the first quarter. We already know. Jeremiah Love on the outside. He's free, chat. Whoa, there he goes. 100 yards. Will they get him? They won't. So just move Notre Dame into the next round. Wow. Jeremiah Love, chat. 98 yards to the house. We shouldn't have got that excited about a Notre Dame touchdown, but it's college football playoffs, baby. It's exciting. We're hyped. But we should check our emotions. Notre Dame, now that the fans are happy because the team is successful and not just because of the environment, we have to control ourselves. We were caught up in the emotion of the college football playoffs, of what was happening, of the eventizing of it all, chat. We're also a fan of the sport as well as a team. But, they've scored. They're cheering because they're happy. So now, this is not good. We don't like this. We will not be cheering anymore if there is any more 98-yard touchdowns for Notre Dame. But shout out, and Jeremiah Love, another guy. Again, not our guy, not a guy that we love per se, but a guy that in the draft, maybe we have a little bit of eyes on. Even that, chat. Even that's a little crazy. Wow, 1 tackle. And just pure speed on the outside. Number 4, a little Dalvin Cookie, maybe a little Bryce Love. Jeremiah Love, is he related to Bryce Love? Is that an obvious one, chat? Is he eligible for the draft this year? Will Jeremiah Love be replacing Jonathan Taylor after Jonathan Taylor dropped a touchdown, chat? Jonathan Taylor is dropping touchdowns now. And it's time to look elsewhere. Let's see. Jordan Love, are they all related? Will it say on here? Oh, I thought it would. He is A sophomore, chat, leads the nation in touchdowns this year. I guess, does it count for leading his conference? He led, I guess, maybe all of the independent teams, potentially. Let's see who else would be. UConn, Washington State. Oh, yeah, shout out. Rip the Pac-12. Massachusetts. This is depressing, chat. I mean, Notre Dame, of course, is independent because that's been the way it's been. But this is just like the castaways of college football at this point. Massachusetts at 2-10. Who's coaching this team? Doug Gottlieb? No, Don Brown, Shane Montgomery. Neither of them apparently able to light a fire under this unit this year. Shout out to the quarterback, though. Been around the block. Chat, should we give out our first prize for whoever can pronounce this name correctly? Our first ever giveaway. Shout out to the University of Massachusetts. Shout out to the players. Hopefully there's a ton of NIL money still on the way, even after a 2-10 season. But Oregon State, Washington State, Connecticut. It's crazy, chat. Okay, we actually have to find out. Because if they are related, then, you know, I mean, you get extra points on our draft board if you have a football lineage. I don't know if that is, or just like an athletic, if you have other professional athletes in your background, it does help. Let's see, chat. It's not looking like it. I feel like usually both these sites are pretty good at putting up. How do you spell his name, chat? Apologies for us being bad football fans. But it's just what it is. We're just slow, chat. Sometimes it takes us a second to process. High school, Christian Brothers. Okay, so not his brother. That's the high school he went to. Yeah, it doesn't say. Okay, so maybe not a first rounder. He's a second rounder. But the same sort of speed. They're both fast, chat. So two fast guys, last name Love. Wise in the name? I mean, it makes a lot of sense. But here we go. Indiana, a chance to respond. And a chance to actually have to move the ball the length of the field. They didn't do that last time they got it off the kickoff. They didn't move it well off the turnover. Oh, Rourke back into the middle of the field. Barely off the fingertips of the receiver, but he's rifling these passes, chat. These are dangerous shots. This Notre Dame secondary, they fly around, even though they don't have their best player. And we also have, I forgot to mention, Cavs Bucks on as well, too. Shout out, you know the NBA can't go away. And while they are not necessarily giving us the strongest slate of games tonight, the Sixers are currently washing the Hornets right now by 20. But we do have, okay, we got OKC versus Miami in the first quarter right now. That's a close game. So that'll be a little interesting. What do we got? Cleveland, it's starting to look ugly right now against Milwaukee. And really against Giannis. Dame is out tonight, so did you guys do a little Cleveland Notre Dame parlay? I think that would have been a safe bet. Are we still locked in, chat? Testing. Okay, we're still good to go. But I think, yeah, tomorrow, what was on for tomorrow's slate of games? So we start off a little Penn State SMU. Okay, early. Get that out of the way early. Makes sense. I think if we were drafting games to watch. And TNT. Yeah, give everybody the early run on TNT. TNT with the doubleheader. Shout out. Are people going to be able to find the game on Max at 11 a.m. in the morning? Are they going to be stumbling around? I think the new generation pretty locked in. Clemson, Texas. And then Tennessee versus Ohio State. And what do we have for the NFL tomorrow as well? I know Ravens Steelers is tomorrow. Oh, and Chiefs, Texans. Wow, chat. Chiefs, Texans, Steelers, Ravens, early games. The NFL is leaving the primetime slate to the college football playoffs. How nice of them. Shout out. Texans, Chiefs, some banger games here, chat. Netflix, not on dock yet. I think that's Christmas Eve. 3rd and 8, chat. Rourke back up the sideline. Over the top of the receiver. It's no good. Who's number 13 for Indiana, chat? This guy just gets every target. I'm assuming he would be the leader in the passing stats here. Let's see what we got. Elijah Surratt. Oh, this is one of the James Madison guys. Okay. Because remember, chat, for those of you that maybe are even, newer to watching Indiana than us, the coach for Indiana last year coached at James Madison, and when he went to Indiana, a lot of the players transferred over from that team. But the reason that is important is because that James Madison team was actually really good last year. Yeah, 11-2. And what were they ranked at one point? I feel like they were up in the rankings. Okay, they got up to 18. They were undefeated at that point. 18 when they lost to Appalachian State by 3. And I think that second loss was because the coach had gotten hired at that point, and the players, like before this bowl game, a lot of the transfer stuff had already gone down. The players were, whatever happened, they didn't have their guys, I think, for this bowl game. I mean, the bowl games are getting bad when the James Madison dudes are sitting out, and they're like, okay, we got to move on to the next picture. That's when you know that we're actually living in the pro era of college sports. Is guys used to sit out bowl games to, stay healthy to get in the NFL to make money. Now they're sitting out bowl games potentially to stay in college football to make money. And, for a lot of, again, for the James Madison guys, like, I'm sure there might have been maybe one or two of them that could have gone to the, I guess if they could have gone to the league last year, they probably would have done it anyways. But you get what we're saying. Like, in theory, there may have been one or two of them that could have actually, you're like, okay, sitting out the bowl game, we get it. You're going to, you're going to be a pretty high draft pick. You're going to get that bag in the league. But for the opportunity then for them to make NIL money compared to NFL money for a lot of them, I'm sure is a lot bigger chance of that. So who knows what they could have gone up to if they hadn't lost and they, 18, 12-team playoff. Could James Madison have been in last year? Signetti? Yeah, because look at that. Warblowski? Did we get it out, chat? Jeez, the last name forced to stutter. That's tough. Warblowski. 0-1, lost a bowl game. That's what you get. 35 touchdowns last year for McLeod. Could they have gotten McLeod? Yeah, Rourke wasn't a transfer from that team. McLeod must have used up his Rourke must have used up his eligibility. Or whoever that guy, McLeod. The guy from last year that was good. And have we had any other big bowl games taking place, chat? Did anybody lock into the Jacksonville State versus... Who did they play, chat? Ohio? Not even Miami of Ohio? Was it Miami of Ohio? Just Ohio? Yeah, I think it was just Ohio. Are they the Bobcats? Shout out the Ohio, potentially the Bobcats versus Jacksonville State. Potentially the Jaguars? Jacksonville State Jaguars? A little NBA, NFL crossover matchup? I think they could play in each respective sport some of those former teams and could have been an even matchup. This Jags team, not good. Some of those Bobcats teams, not good. You could have just played, the Bobcats could have played the Jags in basketball, and the Bobcats would have still been a close game just because, not good. Same with, now maybe, of course, football. the physicality of it, the Bobcats might have gotten destroyed. And if they only had 15 guys on the roster, so now you got to play, 11 guys both ways with only 4 subs. It's going to be a pretty tired bunch by halftime, first quarter, first drive. First time they have to play a full offensive drive. And then I guess they have to kick off too. Full offensive drive, do the special teams, and then kick off. Yeah, the Charlotte Bobcats would be cooked in football. But if the Jags had played the Charlotte Bobcats in basketball, it could have been close. Who was going to stop Trevor Lawrence? Michael Kidd-Gilchrist? I mean, it's those teams are so bad that that's really the only guy that we can think of that played in like a Bobcats jersey. Kemba. I mean, Gerald Wallace. I mean, if you really start thinking about it, Chad, you can get a list of guys, but when you're just like who the names don't flood in, And Leonard on the little comeback route hits the receiver. Uh-oh. Marching up the field, chat. Another first down. 14-0 would not be good for Indiana because I don't know if they're necessarily a play from behind team, but if their quarterback can't throw over the middle of the field, that means their passing game might be a little limited. And maybe they're kind of a de facto that can't play from behind team. Fresh set of downs for Notre Dame. Okay, there's that run defense for Indiana. They're swarming. But I was looking at the Tankathon draft board, their top 100. They didn't have any Indiana guys in the top 100. So I don't know if that's a eligibility thing. And also, if this team is a lot of transfers, maybe there's some older guys. And maybe, top 100 is still like pretty short list for the NFL draft. I guess that's about half it. So, it's not bad. But 40% maybe. But still, there's enough guys to go where you're like, okay, maybe a lot of the seniors, fifth-year guys, some of the older players where you go, the quote-unquote upside, whatever it might not be. Like, if that's what this kind of team is, more experience, then maybe we'll see them in kind of the later part of the draft. Or maybe they'll kind of rise up the draft boards as well, too, as you turn on the tape and you just go, oh, you know what? We need a guy. We need a guy that can just step in, play some minutes, do his role well. Like this Aiden Fisher kid, 108 tackle. I mean, a Big Ten linebacker. That guy, you can put him in the league. Even though these Indiana, I don't know if it's the Indiana unis, but a little slim looking, Not able to get off the field on 3rd and 2. Oh, it could be a long night, chat, for the Indiana defense. Hopefully, maybe if, worst case scenario, we're not going to get 8 overtimes if the Notre Dame team just keeps moving the ball up and down the field like this. We're not going to be looking at a 6.5-hour college football playoff game. Not that we don't, not that 20 minutes in, we're turning on the college football playoff environment and just like, we're good. First quarter's over. The hype's, I mean, if that's not exactly what is the problem with America, chat. If that is not why they're banning TikTok society. I mean, I'm swiping up off this game with 3:34 left in the first quarter. I go, yeah, Notre Dame's got it. I'm good. They can't be stopped. They did just drop that pass, though. So I guess, like we were saying, Notre Dame is a team that could definitely have a couple of self-inflicted wounds throughout the course of the game. Indiana might not be able to bring themselves back, but Notre Dame can let Indiana back in the game. That could definitely happen. Was that on 2nd down? Oh, is that a fumble? A fumble and a recovery, and I think they got yardage off of that. What is happening, Chad? Is this rigged? Is the college football playoff rigged already? 1 quarter in. And Jeremiah Love apparently still getting oxygen from that last run because number 20 seeing some action. Getting the pass there, pause. On action. Getting the is he back in? He might be back in now. So maybe this is their receiving back. Their utility knife. Swiss Army knife? I think the utility is the Swiss Army knife. If we're not right. Is Cignetti going to be at Indiana next year? Are Indiana fans worried? Is there another place for him to go? Is there anywhere up the ladder for Cignetti? I mean, he's got him up to 10th in the nation, but is Indiana a top 10 football program now? Or did they have a top 10 season to some people? Because it was not to everybody, it seemed like. Make no mistake, there was a couple of people we heard that were not a fan of Indiana throughout the course of the season. It's just what it is, chat. Big Ten football, constantly disrespected. And maybe for good reason. I mean, just giving up 8 yards on a screen for another first down. It's methodical, chat. Notre Dame. And I don't know if tackling has necessarily been an issue throughout the night. I mean, it has been on that play, but they haven't necessarily been, well, I guess out of position is bad too, chat. But Notre Dame's been fast. They've been getting into the open spaces. And I guess I was going to say they haven't had a lot of big plays. They had the biggest play of the year, 98 yards. But outside of that, chat, and they had that interception so early. I guess this is really the one actual drive they've been able to have so far. Okay, false start. We just cheer for a close game, chat. So if it looks like Notre Dame is going to get a little too dominant, we just start pulling for Indiana. Okay, Cleveland is up 18 at the half. I think they might be in control of that one without Dame Lillard tonight for the Bucks. So our last opportunity for a good NBA game is, well, I guess Charlotte could make a comeback on the 76ers. We have to keep an eye on that one because that definitely could happen. Is LaMelo playing tonight? Does that increase the odds? But the three-point shooting from Charlotte, the Sixers can be a team that can give up a game. That game might not necessarily be over yet in the third quarter. But second quarter, Thunder, Heat. Thunder up 9. It may be a slow burn, chat. But I think OKC might get it done. Maybe not a game where they get the big victory because they got a run at some point in the game. It's like, oh, they went on the 30 to whatever run, and now they're up 20. But just keep chipping away. Just keep growing the margin. Sometimes it just takes a while, chat. Sometimes you got to warm up. Sometimes you just take a time. Sometimes you get like a timeout. You get like a little basketball blue chew. And you just go on an insane, you just go on a tear, chat. But sometimes it's maybe a little more, I guess not romantic, but maybe as time goes on, chat, a little older. But I guess the Thunder are a young team, so the analogy is not perfect. But is that Hawkins? Shout out to Hawkins. One of the people that year 2 guys, I don't know. We're not saying he hasn't not gotten better, but he hasn't been heard from in a taking a leap kind of way. Gets the little floater under the basket right there, though. Has Hawkins been healthy? Maybe Hawkins has been out. It's never good if you have to think if a guy's injured. Oh, we're already on Basketball Reference, chat. Okay. Does he have an eye here? Here we go. One of 3 Jaimes. Jaime Pena. 8 points a game this year, chat. Played in 20 games, but yeah, look, his minutes are down a little bit. For, I guess, good reason. The man can't hit a shot. 42% from the field. 25% from 3. I mean, 32 last year is like just enough to get away if you're still giving you some stuff on, throughout. And again, he's almost 50% from the field when he's not shooting threes. So yeah, 55.8% from 2 last year is pretty efficient, again, considering he is a rookie. But sophomore slump for Jaime Jaquez? The alliteration continues for our guy. So whatever the third year thump chat, I don't know what happens when you have just like a massive third year pause, but maybe Jaime Jaquez will continue his trend with that third year boost. But maybe tonight gets him back on track as well. We'll see. But so far, Indiana with at least a chance to stop Notre Dame on this drive. I guess that run puts them in field goal range at this point in the red zone as well. But Notre Dame's win probability, 86.4%. Remember this now, Chad, just in case. We should track win probability throughout these games because as it goes, you never know. You just want to be in the moment when you could potentially see the win percentage at a high number at some point and then go, oh, wait a second. I remember when Notre Dame was at 90% to win this game. What happened? What went wrong, chat? And maybe we're just worried about the cover at this point. That hypothetical parlay that we put down, the one that was in the bet slip and that we didn't end up placing a bet on, chat. You still want to hit those hypothetical bets just because you don't want to be rusty. Yeah, you get it in the bet slip. You're like, am I thinking the right way? Do I see the sportsbook weaknesses in these spots? Oh, in first play of the second quarter, not quite a touchdown, chap, but oh boy. It was looking close. Things are getting dicey here as they get inside the 5. Are they inside the 10 now? A 13-play drive, chat. Demoralizing. A lacrosse champion. 2024 lacrosse champion. Notre Dame is also the lacrosse champions this year. You never hear about Notre Dame having like a big athletic year across the board. I guess football is kind of their one thing. What has been the best Notre Dame I guess their women's basketball is pretty good. We should know like some of the players that have gone out of there. But maybe it's more a college basketball team than a WNBA team? Like, are they UConn where they put out the talent and they have a successful team? Or are they just like the pipeline to the... Yeah, third right now to start the year at 9-2 for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish women's basketball team. 2 national championships. I mean, that does make kind of some sense as well, too, because I feel like I see their success as a lot of, semifinal, regional semifinal, national final. It is a lot of deeper tournament runs. It is a lot of coming up short, chat. Yikes. Shout out to Muffet McGraw, though. I mean, what a run. Wow. I guess up until 1920. COVID? Hopefully it wasn't COVID that took Muffet McGraw out. Might have been. Or it was the 13 and 18 season after a decade plus, after 40 years of winning 30 games. You go 13 and 8, they go, see ya. You're gone. But yeah, 2 national championships for this team. What about All-Americans? Oh, now Notre Dame is in the end zone. Yeah, see, now the touchdowns are not exciting. The excitement of the college football playoffs is worn off. And now this is just a disgusting old Notre Dame beatdown. Pause. Indiana, come on, at least look respectable. Make the 12-team playoff worth it. If anything, justify yourselves. You are maybe the most controversial team in here. Oh, of course, Agumbawale is from Notre Dame. Chat. IT, take that out of me not knowing. That's embarrassing. We should have known where Agumbawale went to college. Should we have? Should we not have? In a sports way, chat, because of our sports fandom, is what we're saying. We're new to talking about the WNBA, so if there's basketball terms that cross over and you're like, wait a second, maybe it shouldn't. It just is what it is. But Kayla McBride as well too, Jewel Lloyd, and Skylar Diggins-Smith. Yeah. Should have probably known where she went to college as well too. But 3-time All-American. Did she play all 4 years? Because I was going to say, did she go 3 for 3? Because, you know, you get maybe that freshman year sitting behind some people. You never know. But, yeah, she's out on the court, of course. Can't keep her off. 3 in a row, though. Oh, back-to-back first-team All-Americans as well. Shout out. Pretty crazy. Brianna Turner, I think 2-time All-American, so I assume she was a high draft. 11th overall draft pick? Yeah, 2019. And the coach they have now, okay, former alumni, national champion. One of the 2 national champions. So it makes sense they would dip back into that pool. Try to recapture some of the glory years, chat. You love it when a team does it. It worked with Michigan and Harbaugh, so you know we support it. But on the men's team, Bonzi Wells. Who else played for Notre Dame? Pat Connaughton. I mean, come on, chat. Pat Connaughton versus Arike Agumbawale. It's not even close, chat. And shout out to Pat Connaughton. What's their coach's name? Micah Strawberry? Micah Strewsbury? Chat, have you ever eaten a Strewsbury? I have not. Never heard of it before. Moose Krause is their #1 All-American player from the 30s, chat. So, yeah, it's been a while since Notre Dame apparently has captured some basketball glory on the men's side. 1931 to 1933. Made All-American by averaging 7 points a game, 10 points a game, and 8 points a game. And he was first-team All-American. He was one of the elite players in college basketball, and he averaged 8 points a game. And that's the best player in the history of Notre Dame's Notre Dame college basketball. I mean, look at this, chat. The 1933-34 first-team All-Americans. Claire Cribbs? I mean, maybe the 30s were more progressive than we thought. Claire Cribbs? Hal Lee? Les Witt? Moose Krause? And Norm Cotton? I mean, that's crazy, chat. This guy doesn't even have stats. I mean, I don't even want to ask why. Why were they not keeping Norm Cotton's stats? Yikes, chat. But they were keeping Les White's. It's a bad look. It's a bad look for American history, chat. Not that this would have been the saving grace, but Les White making 2 All-American teams in 4 years with some statistical. If they kept stats for Hal Lee, could that go either way? Stats! I think we got our answer. I think we know. I think we know what Hal Lee looked like. Claire Cribbs? Claire Cribbs, no stats! Ah! No, chat. This is not good. This is not good. In Purdue, I mean, Les White at Wyoming. I mean, Purdue's a much bigger school than Wyoming. Should we do a little test, chat? Should we see? Should we get a Google image search on Norm? Oh, okay, good. Norm was a white guy. Thank goodness. There were some white guys that didn't keep stats of either. I mean, makes sense, Norm. Seattle football player? A relative was Norm? What was going on in Norm's family tree? PeachSociety.com. Shout out. I mean, look at this, chat. This was the best. This was one of the 5 best basketball players in college basketball a mere 90 years ago. For, I guess, Purdue, not Notre Dame. But back when the Notre Dame, so who was this? What was his name again? Moose Krause. I mean, who is this guy, chat? This is not a real basketball player. The Moose Krause Scholarship? Moose Krause was a stud, chat. How many sports did he play? Football, basketball, baseball, track, of course. And he coached. And he was a college athletics administrator. So this guy would be putting up 8 points a game, making first team All-American while simultaneously helping younger students get good grades. Setting them up in their classes. Telling them which math credit they need to take. Born Edward Walter with a Lithuanian last name. So he changed it to Krause, I guess, back when. Yikes, chat. He felt like he needed to go by Moose Krause instead of Ed Chunis. Because this would be Chunis, right, chat? Because of Valanciunas. So Kreachunas? Edward Walter Kreachunas? Is that kind of close? Advarius Voltarius Kreachunas? Moose Krause. Was he an so 3-time All-American in football? Head coach college basketball. So yeah, maybe he was just on the football team as sort of a stunt, you know? Because that is the other thing too, like, especially, you know, football, basketball, like in college, it goes both ways. Like, if you're on the football team, there is a good chance that you could end up just on the basketball team if you just ask. Like, they'll take you. I mean, they'd probably take... I mean, honestly, like, if 3 or 4 football guys sign up for the basketball team, I mean, which one of them is getting turned down, chat? I mean, you'll take the rebounding, recruit a couple of shooters, and you'll be good to go. But obviously the health and the demand of the schedule, you're not really going to put yourself on that risk most of the time. But, you know, if you want to play football, you could probably get on the basketball team. And if you're a good enough like if you're an All-American in basketball, you could probably be a receiver or something on the football team. Or especially, like, you're going to find a way. You're probably fast enough. There's an IQ thing going on as well, too. I mean, and we know the kids as well, too, Chad, in high school. Like, that kid that was good at football but also could just be on the basketball team. I guess what we were saying, the other way around. Where, I mean, yeah, he could, you know, there's a guy that putting up 20 a game, but also running back kickoffs. We saw it. And Notre Dame forcing Indiana into a 4th down and 11. I mean, Indiana might have like 20 yards, chat, tonight. They keep going backwards. Was that, what, 3rd and long, and they're just running the ball again? So they're out on Rourke at this point. Do they not know that this is not a series? This is not the season's over after this game. Even if you don't trust Rourke, you might have to go to him. You're going to have to throw some passes. Notre Dame's going to get the ball back. 9 minutes left. I mean, is Indiana going to see the ball again? I guess they might, because it was not a good punt. Short field. I guess it goes out at the 20, but still only a 30-yard punt. Would have been better just booting it right out of the back of the end zone. At least people would have thought he still had a leg at that point. But Moose Krause, I guess they also had a couple other guys in the mix for Notre Dame basketball. Luke Herringody, John Muir, Austin Carr. Was he like number 1 overall pick? Okay, in 71, I was going to say. I think, oh, chat. Whoa, 38 a game. Back-to-back years. I mean, that's how you know our basketball fandom is at a peak, when a box score will make that noise, chat. It's just what it is. You see 38 and 10 on a box score, and you just go, whoa! Ah! 51%? What? 55%, chat? Yeah. Shout out to Austin Carr. I don't know if the NBA thing panned out the same way. I mean, Cleveland Cavaliers. So even though it's the 70s, we could probably guess it didn't. Oh, man, an Artis Gilmore in the class. Okay, he did make an all-star team. So Austin Carr, not a wash. Talented player. Oh, 20 a game his first couple of years. See, chat, that was not 30 a game, but, you know, that was a nice light. 20 a game. Moderate field goal percentage for back in the day. Dip back into the fountain of youth at 30 and 78 and put up 18 a game. Shout out. 17 a game, I guess. But stayed loyal as well, too, on Cleveland for most of the run. I guess until what, they got rid of him? Did they trade him? What happened? Good old Austin Carr. Oh, sold his player rights? Oh, no, drafted by the Mavs in the expansion draft. They pulled the Kate Martin and they drafted Austin Carr. I kind of like that move. Even though Austin Carr, I guess, was kind of done with his career at that point. But the idea of taking a former #1 overall pick, I guess if you could get him, like, I guess, would you take Ben? I mean, Ben Simmons would be an interesting case on whether or not the Nets would protect him. And if the Nets didn't, would you take him in the expansion draft? I almost feel like you'd have to. Again, how many other former #1 overall picks are you going to get? And who else are you going to get? You know, at the end of the day, what, the Heat aren't going to protect Duncan Robinson? And you're going to be like, oh, well, you know, we got a rotation guy. Like, just take Ben Simmons, you know. For the love of basketball, just take, I guess not for the love of basketball, but just take the man. LeBron, you know, Cowherd thought he could replace LeBron at some point. But maybe he could be the face of an expansion team. Ben Simmons, the face of Portland basketball in 2 years. Could it happen? I don't feel like Portland would take him. Maybe the Vegas team. The Vegas team, not even a maybe. The Vegas team is definitely taking Ben Simmons in the expansion draft. Lock that in. Can we get that off the press already, the Ben Simmons expansion jersey? But yeah, that Jerian Grant team in 2015. I guess that's going to take us to college basketball awards. But what was it? It was Grant, Connaughton. Bonzi Wells was in the mix a couple of years there, and there was a couple other guys. Who was the center, chat, for Notre Dame? Because they went up against that Kentucky team and gave them, you know, a decent run. Would that have been 14-15? Finished 8th. Augustine, that's who the center was. And Demetrius Jackson. Beecham, putting up threes. Vistoria as well. Or Bonzi Wells, not Bonzi Wells, chat. Bonzi Colson. Who is Bonzi Wells? Bonzi Wells is another basketball player. Not the one from Notre Dame, though, in the 2015 season. Did Bonzi Wells go to Notre Dame? Okay, 95. We're only about 20 years off, chat. Ball State. Pause. Whoa. Hey, yo, Bonzi Wells. What is up with Ball State University? That's crazy. Is Letterman a Ball State grad? I think David Letterman might be a famous Ball State alumni. I think that's an Indiana school as well. So I guess close, technically. But yeah, this was been the end of the bench here. But yeah, this was a decent team, chat. Yeah, last minute shot. I remember watching this game on the March Madness app. This might have been like the early days of the app or the website or something, but there was a free preview available. And I should have timed out the free preview a little bit better, but I used it all up before the game was over. So I had to just watch the box score for the end of the game and watch the play-by-play go through the feed and just watch. Was it Jerry and Grant? Maybe there was a radio call as well too, because I think like Jerry and Grant had the last shot and didn't make it. I could be wrong about that, chat. I'm not wrong about the fact that they didn't make it, but I don't remember if it was Grant or not. But I remember either hearing it or I remember looking at the box score, but I guess I don't remember exactly if the radio was on. I think actually, you know what? They maybe gave you the audio feed That's what it was, chat. The free preview would run out for the video, but they would give you the audio feed. So I think I listened to the end of the game while following the play-by-play for the Kentucky Notre Dame March Madness matchup. But Zach Augustine balled out in that game. 10 for 13, 20 points. Shout out. I was having him. This was one of the few times that I rooted for Notre Dame because the Harrison twins, you know, you can look at the highlights. Just search, you know, Harrison twin highlights and you'll find out the Michigan hoodie. You'll see why we don't necessarily appreciate their college basketball history, but would have been nice to see them lose. And they did, of course, eventually. Was it the next game? Yeah, the next game. So, you know, Notre Dame took them to the limit and maybe wore them out a little bit. Pause. That's crazy. Hey. That is... Sorry, chat. We just gotta... We should probably honestly move on and not sit in it for a second, but I'm rattled. That's crazy. But Kaminsky, I mean, the 20 from Kaminsky apparently was enough, not the 20 from Augustine. They got to 71 though, chat. Was it the bench? 12, 12, 16. Bronson Koenig, 1 for 4. Nigel Hayes, Sam Decker, saving the day. So who do we blame? Demetrius Jackson, chat, 2 points, 1 for 7. Maybe we don't want to bring up any harsh memories. Shout out, because Demetrius Jackson, I think, is a fighting Irish basketball legend. Or at least, you know, well-respected basketball history. I mean, yeah, all region, all ACC. So he was balling out for the Irish while he was there. Jersey in the rafters for Demetrius Jackson. Maybe not for Connaughton after a 3 for 10. Connaughton still getting drafted. Even though in the biggest moment of his career with a chance to upset the undefeated Kentucky, he missed every opportunity thrown at him. Maybe Connaughton missed that last shot? I think it was Grant, though. I want to say, like, falling away, baseline, something like that. That's why, because I know I listened to it because I remember hearing the shot described. So, yeah, that would obviously be listening to it. But I don't remember what it was or, again, exactly what happened. But I just remember hearing it being called out. So here we go, chat. They could make it respectable. Curtis Rourke, 70% for the season, chat. And he's 2 for 8 tonight. Oh, boy. This is tough. Tough for a Michigan fan to watch. I can't imagine being a Hoosier fan right now. I mean, the check down, Rourke. Watts playing up by the line, blowing up the play. Tackle for a loss or no gain or whatever. I mean, we'd love to see Watts performing well, but the Rourke confidence from the Miami or the Indiana coaching staff from the play calling perspective. I mean, this is crazy, chat. It's just always a tough sign, tough thing to see when a team just loses faith in their quarterback in front of our own eyes. I mean, do we have PTSD from Anthony Richardson when it happens on the Colts? I mean, Notre Dame stuffing the run. It's 3rd and long. Indiana might as well just stay in the corner at halftime. They can't do anything. Indiana, not built for the big leagues. Who should have been in the playoffs, chat? Should we just get ahead of the storylines now? Who should have been in the playoffs instead of Indiana? I just stubbed my toe. Yo. Okay, we're good. It is what it is. But who was in the mix? I mean, are Alabama fans going to be talking? I mean, we might be staying off Twitter for a lot of reasons right now, chap, but the chances that the Bama fans are going crazy complaining about Indiana right now is definitely one of them. I could definitely just see right now, not even this game trending on Twitter, just like Bama should have been in the playoffs trending on. Well, unfortunately, you know, shout out. We know what's trending on Twitter right now, but from a college football, from a sports standpoint, What would have been trending? Okay, let's see here. Let's actually look at the poll. Mississippi? Mississippi-lessly? So Indiana was 8, but I guess, yeah, they moved down because of the seeding, because Boise State jumps over them, because who else got the bye? Arizona State? Oh, chat. Screen down. Let's see. I think it was ASU. Was also waiting in the quarterfinals. I mean, what a couple of teams with byes. So how about Boise State and ASU? Clemson, Texas, Ohio State, Notre Dame, and Penn State all in action. But Boise State and ASU with first-round byes. You love to see it. Boise State, I love to see them rested up. G&T? Who are they going to play? Is Boise State going to win the national title? Penn State versus SMU? And then this Georgia-Bama? And then, oh, chat. That's a path. Not that Georgia's not, you know, a tough defense, but Carson Beck, chat? You don't have to play Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, or Clemson at all? It's going to be Boise State versus Oregon in the national championship, chat? For real? Boise State versus Texas in the national championship? Whoa. Wait a second. Did Indiana just get a first down? Did Rourke just complete a pass over the middle of the field? Chat, Indiana, they break a tackle on the next play. They're in the red zone. Indiana is down to the 15-yard line. So maybe they are able to have a drive after all. Maybe they just needed to get a couple of plays, get Rourke's confidence back. So Indiana is going to be, they're going to be stared down by Bama fans, by Miami fans, of course, Cam Ward. Those would have to be the top two because Ole Miss, you know, the SEC, they're probably behind Bama. But Iowa State, 3 losses, they're out. And I guess, yeah, Ole Miss, well, let's see here, chat. Oh, let's see. Army, yeah, Army at 11-1, the mouse glitch. Somehow with better takes than us. Let's see. Yeah, they didn't play Bama this year. I was going to say, I don't remember them playing, but they did beat Georgia. I guess so did Bama. So outside of, so it's really Bama, Miami, and Army are the teams that would be making the case. BYU was in the mix for a little bit. But I guess as a Big 12 team, and after losing the championship, or, you know, not even being the championship, sort of the third Big 12 team, because Iowa State's third loss would be in that championship game to Arizona State. So it's like that loss, you know, it doesn't really count in this whole ordeal against BYU. But Clemson jumped in as well. Maybe this is a little older, chat. But I guess, no, they would need to go down 3 spots to be at 11. Or no, they're at 10, chat. So the 2 spots would be from Arizona State, Boise State jump over them. So this must be an older ranking that we're looking at. But either way, we know Bama and Florida, Bama and Miami both ended up behind Indiana because they're not in the playoffs. So they're going to be disappointed after watching Notre Dame potentially work this team. But like we're saying, and like you guys are watching, of course, if you guys aren't too locked in on the watch party and you're actually paying attention to the game, they are driving. They are in the red zone. Indiana timeout. They're just the dysfunction. They didn't expect to be on the field this long, chat. It's too much for them to overcome. A long, sustained drive. Oh. Chat, some exciting news popping through the feed. We won't spoil it, though. Exciting times. Okay, so 5 minutes or 3 minutes left. 3.5 minutes left. So Notre Dame will get the ball and will have a chance to drive here. But Notre Dame also gets the ball to start the second half as well, too, chat. Because remember, Indiana got the ball and then Notre Dame got that interception on their first possession. So a potential 2-score opportunity here. So they really need a touchdown. A field goal, 14-3, 2-score game. Just from a momentum standpoint, you haven't been able to do much on offense. To be able to be 1 score down would be, such a sigh of relief. But to walk away with 3 points at the end of the half would kind of be like reaffirming of everything that happened. You're like, oh yeah, we actually suck. We couldn't do anything. We couldn't put up any points. Look at that. We have 3. It's all true. What did I just see, chat? I don't even know if I could talk about the Taco Bell commercial that they just showed. I don't even know if we can make jokes. Because the thing is, the commercial is trying to be inclusive and really trying to cater to their target audience, chat. I don't know. Is she a former college football playoff player? I'm not sure. But make no mistake, we've had our Taco Bell runs in the past. We're on a McDonald's run right now, though, chat. It's just what it is. We've been super locked in on McDonald's. They've got the little 2-for-1 McDouble deal. Yikes, I don't know if we want to put y'all on game like that. But, I don't even know if we want to admit this, chat. This is just like pure slob behavior. And you can't even really tell by looking at us because, again, we're early in the bulking phase. We're trying to catch up to the lady in that Taco Bell commercial. But, we'll pull through the drive-thru and order the 2 McDouble, that buy one, get one McDouble twice. So you can get 4 McDoubles for $8, chat. Is there a better bang for your buck? If you're doing bulking season, chat, calorie-wise, are you going to get a better bang for your buck than that? And I know, you can go to the meal prep sites and the meal prep stuff online. You can probably get that down to $3. If you really want to stretch $1. But, fortunately, the job is still good enough for us to be able to afford McDonald's. And to be honest, chat, that kind of price per calorie, because in the bulking phase, chat, as we try to commit, because what they don't actually tell you about the bulking phase is you can eat chicken breasts and rice and try to do it that way, but that actually works if you have the money to buy all the chicken breasts and rice, because if you're buying chicken breasts and rice for normal meals and just saying like, yeah, I'm gonna have my normal breakfast, lunch, dinner, there's gonna be a chicken and rice meal in here, whatever, like that makes sense. But if you're gonna go and you have to start doubling, like, make no mistake, like on the budget, there are still ways to do it. But once you start getting into the increased portions, it just from an affordability standpoint, McDonald's starts to make a little bit more sense in the mix. And of course, there's the convenience option as well too. We're not defending the McDonald's per se, as we are, I think, why do we have to defend the value, chat? I feel the need to. But either way, it's been in the mix a lot recently, and it's been good, chat. McDonald's, is it back? Is McDonald's back? Is McDonald's the best fast food place right now for that tier of fast food? Because I guess best fast food is such a wide conversation. But I guess the big 3, chat, the big 3, everybody was talking about Kendrick, Drake, and Jcole. Nobody was talking about Wendy's, McDonald's, and Burger King. And there's been feuds going on all around. Biggie bag deals. There's, everybody's trying to copy each other and rip off. And they, of course, that's always been the game. But I feel like McDonald's has kind of revitalized the food a little bit. It's not bad, chat. And I don't want to say too much because this is not a paid space, but I can only tell you what we've been up to. And what we've been up to is a couple of McDonald's runs after a shift at the restaurant. Because if we're comparing value for the McDonald's, what we can get at McDonald's versus what we can get at the restaurant, we can definitely get more at McDonald's for our buck than we can at the restaurant. Maybe not if we do the meal preps ourselves, but if we were buying food at the restaurant that we work at, even with the employee discount, which shout out, it's a tight discount. Make no mistake. It's nice, but I mean, it's McDonald's. You know, Chat, you're gonna save a buck when you go to the old Golden Arches. It's just what it is. So I don't remember why we were talking about McDonald's. I guess because we're getting hungry, Chat. Halftime is on the way. But is halftime a time to make a McDonald's run? Can we switch the stream over to the phone and then go through the drive-thru? Because make no mistake, Indiana did settle for a field goal. So, I mean, Notre Dame's going to have 3.5 minutes left. Okay, the kickoff, the returner brings it out of the end zone and doesn't quite get back to the 20. So, maybe there's a little bit of pep in your step for Indiana for getting a little stop there. But 14-3, I mean, a field goal for Notre Dame makes this 17-3. And then 20-3 on the other end if they kick a field goal out of halftime. I mean, a touchdown would put this away, and it would do real damage to Indiana. They'd be done, down 21-3. So, I mean, the fact that they have the back-to-back possession where they get 2 field goals, because there's a lot of times where you get that opportunity, that back-to-back possessions to end the half, and if you get the 2 field goals, it maybe isn't quite as effective a way to use those 2 possessions. It's obviously not maximizing it, but you know, this is a position where you could actually get away with, if you had 2 consecutive field goal drives here, it would actually be a devastating blow to Indiana. Notre Dame, 40 players took their final exam yesterday. I mean, the final exam day I guess final exam day is stressful, but that's kind of just like screw it, Point Chat, because, you know, you've done the studying. You're not going to study either anymore. You either know it or you don't. So you just kind of roll with what the test questions are and see what it is. And it's not like you have class that day, or it's not like you're taking homework home after the final exam. So I guess there's the anticipation of, I guess we never were, Chat, for maybe some of the for Notre Dame students, the smart ones, they're probably doing a little summer work, little winter break work. I'm sure the grind never stops. But for us, actually, there was one semester where we took a class over the winter. And make no mistake, that was a mistake. We never did that again. But I mean, once you get to final exam day itself, it is kind of like, I don't know if that would necessarily, having a final exam the day before an athletic performance would not be super effective. I guess the reason it would be, is because of the studying that would have to take place and overlapping with preparing for the game. But I guess the actual exam taking itself, but I guess I'm just saying, like, yeah, obviously an hour out of your day is not going to affect, you know, your chance to win the national title. But, you know, shout out to the kids in school, Chat. Do we just have to justify our shortened degree, Chat? It's just what it is. They're putting in the work. They deserve it. They're much better than us. They're getting good grades and playing football. It's just what it is. Even though, are we a little closer to the Indiana people after tonight? I feel like the only time you would have a chance in a bar with a college football player going after the same girl would be after a loss. If it was a college football player just even just like middle of summer, normal time. Because there's been times, Chat, where, you know, you're out in Iowa City and it's the middle of summer and you'll see a couple of the athletes, not even the former Iowa City not even like the current athletes walking around for the summer that may go home. Like, you know, former athletes just back hanging out in the town as well, too. And, you know, you'll see them out and about every now and then. I don't know if we want to start saying names, exposing guys, but, you know, we've ran into a couple of people out and about. So, you know, make no mistake, there's been a night or two where you're like, I didn't expect to see him or her. And it's a little fun addition to the evening. But where are we going with that, Point Chat? Being out and about in the town? I don't even remember. It is what it is. This Tremfya commercial got me distracted. These people get to moving around in these medicine commercials. But at least Thunder Heat is still close, Chat. The Heat are down by 5. Is Jimmy Butler playing tonight? Is this the we don't need Jimmy Butler game? Is this the Tyler Hero can officially have the keys to the team? 7 minutes, 0 points, 0 shots, 0 fouls. He must have gotten hurt, chat. Should we do a quick... Oh, we're going to have to do it. Pause. We're going to have to get on Twitter to see if Jimmy Butler got hurt. Let's see here. Because 7 minutes, we didn't tune in until second quarter-ish. Uh-oh. Sick, potentially, chat? They're just saying not feeling good? The man is just having some tummy trouble? A little bubble gut for a guy, Jimmy Butler? What's going on here? The runs, maybe? Yeah, it looks like the man just kind of subbed himself out. I mean, Jimmy Butler, did he pull the DeAndre Campbell? Is the man quitting the Miami Heat? Did it just happen and did nobody know about it? Did it kind of go under the radar? Also, shout out to TNT for playing Lethal Weapon right now. Not that that's not a great movie to play, but 5 days out before Christmas, I mean, that would be in my top movies I'd want to see. Lethal Weapon. I mean, seems like you could just cue Die Hard up in that spot right there. I don't know. Does TNT have Die Hard access? They might not, chat, because we were watching it on Hulu the other night. But there can be Hulu and Max crossover, I think. What is Die Hard on? Let's see. We should probably know, chat, too. Just, what's the movie intro? Yeah, it can be on TNT. You can stream it on TNT and the TVS apps. And Tubi and Roku and Prime and Pluto and Hulu. Die Hard is everywhere. This might be the most available movie across streamers. I mean, Tubi, Roku channel, Prime, Pluto, and Hulu. There can be a lot of overlap between some of the free streamers for sure. But being on all of them is crazy. Maybe it's just the holiday season right now, chat. Little Die Hard boost. But apparently Lethal Weapon, the Friday before Christmas, is the action movie that goes in the slot. December 20th, prime time. Mel Gibson. Oh, that's a catch, chat. Oh, no, it's a drop. That's on the ground. Did they give it to him? 1st and 10. A minute 50? So with the way Notre Dame moves the ball, yeah, maybe 3.5 wasn't enough for a touchdown. Maybe it was actually a field goal. I would have assumed a field goal just because, that's where they tapped out at. But that's just where they're going to... just takes them so much time to drive down the field. Outside of 198-yard run. Which I didn't realize that they used the rotation of running backs the way that they did, maybe. I feel like we haven't seen Love as much after that. Maybe I'm just not paying attention at the right times for him. But, Williams is in there. Who's Price is the other guy? Did I call him Bryce Love earlier? Jeremiah Love? We'll just stick to Love. Our guy Love. Cupid? Call him Cupid. The man, he's like a dart. Guess I'd make him more like a Cupid's arrow, but... Riley Leonard. Josh Allen. 0.2. Not the 2.0 version, but the 0.2 version. The Walmart SE. Josh Allen SE? The mini least expensive Josh Allen. Okay, chat. Under a minute left, and they're still not even over midfield. They are taking their time. I guess they're going to take a shot right here. It's going to go for about... Oh, they push it forward. Yeah, about 8 yards, chat. So, I mean, Notre Dame does have all 3 timeouts. We get that. They can afford some short plays into the middle of the field here for some stoppages. I mean, Leonard, with the confidence of Josh Allen on that one, was spinning around after releasing it, trying to hit us with a little no-looker. Maybe not the cleanest highlight, but it's a successful play, so you'll take that. Can't be mad. So imagine being a top 10 team or top 12 team and not winning a bowl game. And I guess not winning a bowl game is common, but not even playing in a bowl game. Like, Indiana's going to not have played in a bowl game this year if they lose. If SMU loses to Penn State, this is the best season they've had in 50 years, and they just no bowl appearances for them. Like, how does that actually work, chat? Because, again, I guess that gets labeled as a playoff appearance. So the labeling will all probably work itself out. But I don't know, chat. For once, I'm on the side of create more bowls. 4 more bowls. Give them names. Give them sponsorships. Give the players some perks. Not that they need more perks and more stuff. But that's also a cool thing about the bowl games as well, too, chat. Like the Orange Bowl, you get a bunch of oranges. The Tostitos Bowl is just like chips and salsa for everybody. And now the one time they take a shot is on 3rd and 1. So they must, I guess they're going for it on 4th and 1. Because they're not going to punt the ball to Indiana with 30 seconds left with the way that their defense has been stopping them, and Indiana's kind of in no man's land. A field goal, of course, wouldn't be devastating if Notre Dame gave that up, especially with them getting the ball to start the second half as well, too. The Fighting Irish would have a chance to respond, on the quote-unquote next possession. A run up the middle, so there's the first down, and there's more. Takes it to about the field goal target line that the TV is giving us. So that puts it at about the 36. Yeah, and the clock stoppage on the first down. They're going to run a play without even calling a timeout. Get back up and snap it. And, maybe they just knew that Riley Leonard was going to throw this next pass into the ground. They have their 2-minute offense down, chat. They know. They know that if they get up after a successful play and get up on the ball quick and run the play, there is a good chance that Riley Leonard will throw an incompletion to stop the clock. So you don't need to call a timeout. The clock will be stopping in a couple of seconds. And it stops right now at 23. So still, I guess, a little bit of a longer field goal. You'd assume they get a couple more yards here. But now they're in play for taking a shot at the end zone. And Indiana is getting to Leonard a little bit here on this drive. They've been sending some pressure. I think they sent 5 on that time. Leonard's slow to get up as well, too. But he's had to kind of abandon the pocket the last couple of dropbacks. And it's been part of the reason that he's gone for the check down is the offensive line has given up a little bit of space over the last couple of plays. But let's see if he actually should be abandoning the pocket or if he just is, chat. Because I feel like over those last couple of plays he should have. Like, it kind of got dicey for him. But let's pay extra attention here because it is 3rd and 10. So, passing situation. It's been from the shotgun. They've got 5 on the line again. A linebacker. So they drop 2 and send the linebacker for a 4. And it ended up going to the running back. So they checked it down, picked up a couple of more yards, set themselves up for an easier field goal on 4th down. Take the safe play. Marcus Freeman. Risky off the court, of course, rizzing up Mullen McGrath, but not risky on the field. Taking the points. Giving his field goal kicker a little bit of an easier shot. So probably the smart play as well, too. You got to the outside earlier with your running backs and got a big play. Maybe you hit it again. And maybe it's not even if it's not a touchdown, maybe it gives you 1 or 2 more chances at a touchdown again with those timeouts as well, too. If he's able to pick up, say, 10, 15 yards or whatever. Oh, wow. Notre Dame. Yeah, they have the worst field goal kicking team in the league. So it's kind of crazy that they made it 11-1 with that. You would think about, how many times, and there, of course, are dominant teams, but especially for, a top 5 team, not a top 2 or 3 team. For a team in that 3 to 7 range, how many, a couple games come down to sort of a last-minute field goal. So 49 yards. It's up. It's hooks. It's in, chat. He hooked it in. It looked, by the time he got there, it looked like it was a pretty easy make. But that's the thing about those field goal target lines, chat, especially in college, is, yes, maybe the guy made one at some point in his career at that point, but they need to give us, like, a range. Like, the red field goal target line, and I guess it could start getting confusing with the first downs and line or whatever, but the red field goal target line is his career long, his blue is like the sort of cold range, and then his warm is like, okay, here on in, this guy's kind of automatic. In this range, you're definitely in this range, but don't necessarily be shocked if he hooks this one. And then maybe the red one is like, okay, yeah, this is definitely like this is the longest field goal he's ever kicked. So can he do it? Yes. You want to do it? Maybe not. Because they weren't like too far off of that target line. So again, he made it pretty easily. Maybe they're making him kick like 57, 58, really long field goals. But either way, you get the 17. You're up 2 tutties. Indiana's probably just going to take a knee here. They're ready to go. Oh, and don't forget tomorrow, people, the FCS National Championship as well. Wow, so we got to decide between North Dakota and South Dakota. And, oh no, semifinals. Wow, so 3 of the 4 teams in the FCS semifinals are North Dakota State, South Dakota State, and then just South Dakota. And then Montana State. I guess those probably are like the 8 schools that are up there, but still. The dominance of the Dakotas in the FCS cannot be understated. Will it continue tomorrow? It definitely will in one of the games because North and South are playing each other. But can Dakota beat Miami? Or who was it, chat? Who were they playing? I already forgot. Dakota versus Montana. Montana State. Are there any of those like big sky country states that are in the FCS? I guess we know like UNI is FCS, but even that's so, like Iowa, Great Plains. Is FCS like Great Plains and all that stuff? The Badlands? Are there any Miami, California, New York schools in the FCS at all? I'm sure there are, but we are not knowledgeable enough about the FCS to tell you. So there we go, chat. We are at halftime. Let's see where we're at here quickly on this Thunder Heat game. Oh, wait, what happened? Hero, so cold, he froze up the stream. Jimmy Butler is running the IT department for the NBA tonight because, make no mistake, League Pass stopped working. That was a long one, chat. Pause. We got there. Oh, Molly McGrath can't wait to talk to Marcus Freeman again. She was hoping they would be linked so she could interview him. No wink this time. You love to see it. You know what? I'm all in. That's the perfect way to do it. A wink pregame, but if you get that middle of the game interview, no wink. Yeah, Marcus Freeman, he got it down. We're buying all the stock. Notre Dame football is finally turned around and a prestigious program. Once again, up 17-3 at the half. Let's take a quick timeout, and then we have the second half of Indiana, Notre Dame to get to. As well as much more people, don't worry. The stream is only getting started. Pause, but we'll be back in a second to continue the first ever 12-team college football playoff game. It's living up to the hype, chat. We'll see if the second half does. Okay, we're back in chat. Oh, wait a second. We gotta get the setup complete, chat. This is not right. We're not ready to go until everything feels perfectly set up. Okay. Quick adjustment of the hair there, chat. Okay, we're back in. 3, 2, 1. We are ready to go. As the second half is about to fire up. And speaking of fired up, something that we couldn't wait to fire up today was, well, a couple of things. But, of course, chat, we knew that SZA would be dropping or reissuing the SOS album with the deluxe version titled Lana. And make no mistake, chat, we thought that we were going to wake up this morning, of course, go to the gym, and we thought our gym rotation for today was gonna be this new SZA album. Make no mistake, chat, I don't know if that's a crazy take, SZA in the gym, but at this point, we're kind of just anything. I'll listen to anything at the gym, chat. I don't know if that's a hot take, but I don't necessarily need, like, gym vibe songs all the time. Like, you know, we don't need to necessarily play, you know, Kings of the Mischievous South every time we're in the gym just to get the, and sometimes, like we do, you know, sometimes, you know, Get Rich Die, like, you know, we'll go a certain way, of course, but there are other times when it's just like, you know, we'll listen to the new stuff or, you know, whatever the vibe is for the moment. But today was supposed to be SZA, or not even, you know, it could have been at the gym. Is it going to be in the, just at any point in the morning? It's just like, how soon can we listen to this new SZA album? This SZA Deluxe for SOS. Could it be shower, breakfast, before work? It had to be at some point, chat. She had promised it in the morning, and it just never happened. We were like, oh, well, I guess we're just not going to listen to this album. Maybe it's not even going to drop today. Like, I guess we just go to work, and make no mistake, like, it was, you know, not the type of day where we should have been checking our phone to see if SZA was dropping an album. We should have been paying attention and making sure the job was getting done, and I think we did a good job, chat. Check the tape. There is the CCTV, like there is film that we could go back and watch, but we were definitely every hour, half hour, you know, 15 minutes. I don't know how quickly it was, but we were trying and checking and waiting and looking at Spotify to see when this SZA album was going to be dropping. And then I think we got on around like 2:15, 2:20 and opened Spotify back up. And yeah, there it was. It was sitting there. So it must have dropped, like we were saying, as much as we were checking, it must have dropped right around 2 o'clock before, you know, the 2:30-ish login to see it was up. And we got that one listened to. Of course, Jcole released the anniversary album for 2014 Forest Hills Drive, the 10th year anniversary album. He released it on streaming today. It had been available as well. I don't know, was it available for like some kind of digital download, or was it just a vinyl hard copy that was for sale? But now it's available on streaming for the world to listen to. But SZA, of course, was the one that was announced, so that was the one that was anticipated. I guess we should have anticipated. And I think it was like, okay, this 2014, like, it better be dropped on streaming. You can't just make this for, you know, only the vinyls, which I guess they sold out, or whatever. I'm guessing they sold out. I'm buying one right now. Should we just go check? Because I don't know their kind. Was there other merch? And I'm sure everybody else has already seen Jcole merch. Where was chat? Oh, there you go. Okay, spelling was strong to start today, but yes. Okay, it's mostly because zero key stuck at times. Yeah, there we go. That zero key and that, of course, you know, right side parentheses. But for some reason, key gets stuck. Okay, do we actually have to go for the vinyl chat? Let's see. Anniversary already on eBay for $100. Is that a deal, chat? $9? Here's go. Let's see. You're not looking for jcole.com. Yeah, probably label. You gotta make some money on this album. Oh, sick vinyl, chat. That was like a 30-point square reaction to seeing that vinyl. This vinyl is as cool as a 30-point box square. We had the cover of it, like I said, it was streaming. Should we promote just accepting all the keys like that? Let's go. Okay, yeah, CD, anniversary for the center. Limited restock for the Forest Hill Drive. Fine. Turn this off so nobody can see it. Yo. I was going to say, Jcole, you can get some Jcole. Interscope. I was like, what a move. To put it out there. They put the Kindred next to each other. Or we could put it over CD. I don't know. I would rather go vinyls than CDs. Because that's the thing. You can actually choose which one you want to collect now. Both are full on collector items. And this Mr. Morale vinyl, and when I mean the actual record stuff, the Mr. Morale disc is pretty sick too. I like it now that they do the actual disc designs along with the cover. And, they always mess with it a little bit. Now, full on, like that 2014 one we were just looking at. In gradient patterns in their chat. Beautiful stuff. Limited forever. Okay, we can get it. Is that it? $46? So we can get two of them for what they're reselling. So how are they reselling them? What is going on, chat? The eBay pre-sale? What is this? Do we just understand the drop shipping game like Judd? Maybe that's why the ones are limited, chat. We get into drop shipping. We can start dropping this new Jcole album. The new 10th anniversary 2014 Forest Hills Drive album. But $46, Jen? But I guess, as cool as this one is, if we don't own the actual 2014 hits vinyl, we should probably just get this one instead. Shop live on REMINGTOM chat. Is this what happens when Notre Dame and Indiana, the game just turned into a slow blowout? It's just a chat. But as the songs are with the 10th anniversary, as good as it would own those, the physical copy, and just the fact of having the Forest Hill Drive, you have to have that chat. Even if you would say, I don't think owning the 10th anniversary counts as owning the Drive. Like, you own the Forest Hills 10th anniversary. And they're all individual. Like, for Lana, I would get the SOS album and the Lana album. Well, I would get Lana and I know that's the point of reissuing the deluxe, of course, but I wouldn't just get Lana. I honestly, maybe there's a couple albums. I do think that, speaking of Good Kid, Mad City, the Good Kid, Mad City Deluxe, I would get that. And that cover, for some reason, I don't know for some reason, the deluxe songs, of course, are classic as well. But that cover has sort of lived on in media, like, when you think of the Good Kid, Mad City cover, you think of the cover on the deluxe. You don't necessarily think of the actual original cover. Even though, you see it in Target, and so it's one of the more popular vinyls. You see it sitting around. But I feel like the deluxe cover for this one is actually the cover. At least for me, anyways, that I think about. But I'm trying to think, what's another deluxe? What are all time the greatest deluxe rankings? Because I'm not just talking about LeBron James. Here's two more for you. Like the actual project. How many songs are on that Good Kid, Mad City Deluxe? Is it 4? 5? So four tracks and, I guess technically 2 new tracks. And then, or 3 new tracks, but then a remix of one of the new tracks, and then a remix, of course, of a track on the album already. But, of course, Lana and the 2014 Forest Hills Drive deluxes are a little bit more expansive of projects. And I had heard at one point that this Lana project was going to be just its own album. I'd heard that as like a rumor, and then never heard the rumor necessarily like corrected, where it was like, oh yeah, this is actually just gonna get deluxe, but then just saw like more rumors that it was just gonna be deluxe. It was like, okay, well, I guess then that rumor was false, but it was from like a reputable source. I thought, I can't exactly remember where I saw it, so maybe not super reputable, but it was from. I feel like my algorithm at this point is it fine-tuned, chat? We have a fine-tuned algorithm to the reputable sources. I don't think that's a thing that exists. The fine-tuned algorithm to the reputable sources, but if you have the REMINGTOM pod in your feed, follow us on Instagram, chat. Follow us on TikTok. There's only a few days left, but we are on Instagram for the foreseeable future, assuming that one stays. I think that one will stay because I think Instagram is the reason that TikTok is getting banned. But we are the REMINGTOM pod over on Instagram. So I guess the REMINGTOM pod, if we could be the one. We're not reputable source, but at least we admit that we're not reputable. So that honest source, we're an honest source in your guys' feed, if that's at least somewhat of an addition. But at least the pages that it seems like comes up for us are ones that, of course, we trust. And I felt like I heard that from a trusted source. But, I mean, she gave us basically an extra album's worth on this deluxe. And I was reading as well, too, when she was just recording SOS in general, she had recorded like 100+ songs for it, which, I guess I don't know the full process that goes into every album. Like, I get, there are songs that don't make the cut, and that's why it's a deluxe, and there's going to be songs that are never released to the public, and maybe they're leaked or whatever, but it's just like they're just never going to be put on a project, and they were recorded for this, but it's just never going to happen. But 100 songs seems like it's probably a little bit of higher end chat. I don't know what is considered like what would be an average amount. I'm sure it would vary artist per artist, as well, because like Juice World, like R.I.P. Like that guy could go in and record. Like there were producers that talk about that he could go in and record like 3 or 4 songs off the same beat right away and just tell them to pick which one they like. So he could have a album, of course, with just multiple. It's not even he's creating different songs, creating different versions of the songs as well too. So it could vary artist for artist, but that kind of proficiency from SZA was definitely pretty incredible to hear about. And then like we're getting new music as well too, but it's all still in the SOS era, which is of course why we're getting it reissued as the SOS Deluxe. I guess I don't know for a fact if there are any. I guess is that 30 for 30 song new that she did with Kendrick? Because of course we got the Kendrick feature. I think that was a lock. What was the Notre Dame line going for tonight? I think the odds that Kendrick would have been featured on the new SZA album would have been greater even than that. But Notre Dame with an electric run on the opening kickoff. Oh, man, chat. Where did you get this one to? Let's see the replay here. I wasn't locked down the play. Oh, lateral! The reverse! They busted out the trick play! And they're across midfield to the Indiana 45. Wow, chat. Is that a move that you could have saved for the semis? Maybe. But Marcus Freeman trying to put Indiana to bed, especially up 17-3, chat. I don't know if you needed to pull that one out. Now, that was effective. Shout out. Again, it worked. So we can't necessarily criticize them too much for getting the ball down to the 45 on the opening kickoff. But maybe when they're down 17-3 against Georgia, that could be one to use. Maybe having Georgia not seen that on tape for this week might have been necessarily a good thing. But let's see, chat. Because, again, she had those 100 unreleased. But how many of those songs that she got for today were all from that time? Let's see if there's anything that says. And I was also saying that, or also reading, sorry, that she was working on the deluxe, of course, after the album had finished. So, obviously, that's putting that together, the curation of everything, and the final, editing and mastering, the mixing she was doing all the way to the very last second, apparently. But, yeah, I don't exactly know what would be. Let's see if it says on Genius here real quick. Not that it necessarily matters in any way for the quality of the album, but just to, I guess, know. Just to see. We dropped our pen. We all made in a run of something. First was unlogging the mic. Now dropped the pen. Where'd it go? Oh, jeez. Now it's out of bounds into Oblivion chat. It's disappeared. Are we seriously going to have to move to the marker? It might be just under the seat. Oh, I'm gonna. Okay, where would you see? Just right underneath you? Pause. Hey! That's right. Okay. Lock loaded. Should we go up here? Why haven't I thought about this before? Up in the ear? Why are you like, nerd? But, let's see. And I'm sure the SZA fans know, because there's been some songs as well, too. I saw there were some unreleased SZA songs fans were maybe would be on this project. But I think this was all sad. That I hadn't heard before. Why don't they just have, read the lyrics? Oh, okay. Okay. Let me see if it says on Wikipedia. Maybe Saturn and the new Kendrick song. So I'm guessing it's just a mix of both SOS album and SOS songs that maybe didn't make the cut, and a couple of new recordings as well too. But I didn't get a chance to look at. We have to update the year-end rankings as well. Already, we'll be after doing the year-end rankings and giving out our all NBA or all album teams for the 2024 year. We have more drop that just enters in, totally disrupts. And it's another big moment. But I guess at this point, chat, it's 2025. But I feel like it's gonna be connected to that Christmas holiday type vibes, and that's still good 2024. So I mean, it's just one of the best in the game right now. I mean, it's just going top chat. A comparison is not the perfect thing to do. A couple hours after drop, because it's only a couple hours. It was a little late. But maybe we should just enjoy it first, and then as time goes on, then the conversation can evolve from there. But of course, matching up to the state of SOS is gonna be difficult. I mean, probably, let's be honest, chat. That album is one album of the decade, one of the great albums I've seen of our lifetime, and it's probably gonna be the best album of her career. And I don't say that as a disrespect thing. I say that as that's a Good Kid, Mad City type album. And even Good Kid, Mad City, I'm sure there are Kendrick people that, and I'm not even sure, there are Kendrick people, of course, and not in a disrespectful way, but it's just some people would think that Butterfly is over Good Kid, Mad City. I just would have Good Kid, Mad City over almost any album that has ever existed ever. But for SZA as well, there might even be some SZA fans that say Control is over SOS. But I guess that would be that's the actual like SZA fans are probably day one. We're not gonna sit up here and pretend like we've been a day one SZA fan. SOS of course was the big rotation sort of. I guess the first full project that we were like, okay, this is like a real like all timer for us in our rotation. Like, Control has definitely grown into that as well too. As make no mistake, as the fan for SZA has grown. Again, I was gonna say the love for SZA, but we're trying to keep it professional when we do the album. But as our fandom, as listeners for SZA, continue, we're actually in our top 10 for artists for 2024 rap. But that was SOS. But as we have gotten more fond of Control, it's not even an album that like it's had to grow on us. It's just again, it's that artist where you have an album that you really like, or the progression of artists where you have a song that you like, and then you have the album that you really really like, or maybe there's some songs off an album that you really really like. But then there's that project, that song, or that album that gets you hooked for that artist in your rotation as a mainstay artist. Where at first it was those songs, where you can get attached to songs or get attached to the album, but then you have the project where you go, okay, I'm like fully locked in on this person's career, and I'm just gonna I'm probably like I turned the corner and I'm now biased toward this person. Whatever this person does, I'm just gonna be a fan of, and I cannot really grade this person objectively because I'm just gonna say it's good and this person is good, and I'm if I didn't make a point clear, chat. When you just become a really big fan of an artist and lock in the rotation in that way, and that's of course SOS for us, as I think it is for a lot of people. But again, I think that is fair to say that because I guess I should just automatically say that's going to be your best album of all time. Like, of course, To Pimp a Butterfly is her version of that's probably the next individual separate album that's just going to drop. And even though Lana could have been kind of its own album, when it gets next album with its own branding, its own sort of project, like maybe that is the To Pimp a Butterfly. Maybe that I guess every great artist has multiple great works where you debate which one could be the greatest. So yeah, of course, she's not going to drop other great albums, but just to the moment that was for that year, and Taylor Swift just having an iconic year that year. You know what, chat? Should we take it back? Because we're such SZA fans. The thing is, like, for us, I guess this SOS album is going to be so nostalgic as that, again, that entry point to pause. Just, oh, Jesus, chat. We can't even finish that sentence. As the starting point, as the starting point to SZA's music in a big rotation way like that, SOS is always going to carry that. The same way, like, we're saying, we would have Good Kid, Mad City as Kendrick's best album. Like, if we were picking an album for us, if we had to only have one Kendrick album, like, it would have to be a real debate between that and Section 8 for me because of the nostalgia that Section 8 has, and obviously because of the music, but because of that early entry vibe to the artist type thing that you get from listening to that project. And again, SOS is not the early project, but it will always be special to us in that way. And even though, I'm going to pivot from the take. I'm going to say that she's going to have a year where, well, I guess I don't even know what the pivot would be, but we're workshopping the take live as we go. But I could definitely see her having a year where she is actually the biggest artist on the planet, and she's still making a case for it. Now, of course, her popularity continues to increase. But, Taylor Swift found the Grammys all year, and it's the most nominations. I don't know if you know most wins. Years was dominated. Taylor Swift had the tour. Taylor Swift had the Zeitgeist as well, too, with the early Travis Kill stuff. And, that relationship at the peak of his powers has already peaked. I guess it will re-peak when they get engaged and have the full wedding and go into that phase of the relationship. But in terms of the dating years, of course, it's peaked. Unless there's some other drama that happens. But they're also saying quite as well, too, so they've kind of peaked it themselves. But the peak dating, the peak tour, album drops, like, as much as, for us, 2024 was the year of SZA, like, there's probably more people, there was more people that ended up voting it for Taylor Swift. So I definitely see SZA having a year again where she is back in with a ton of Grammy noms and sweeps through album of the year, gets all the wins, and, it's like, okay, we're crowning SZA to, like, she's on top of the game right now. She has her moment. But, that SOS album, the more that, we've continued to listen to that, and the more that we've thought about it, and the more that, recently as well, too, we've been, messing around with looking at some of, like, all-time greatest albums and trying to figure out, okay, like, where would this stuff, like, actually rank up against each other? Because make a mistake. That if we're into something, we're going to start, there's just going to be rankings involved. So, of course, you start thinking about where this album would stack up in the all-time rankings. And this is an album that, of course, the hip-hop fandom really loves, but it's not an album that I think gets talked about in conversations amongst other hip-hop albums. And I can say I don't know why, but of course, it's not a full-on hip-hop album. Of course, like, that's why it doesn't get brought up in those conversations. But, the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill is an album, of course, when you're doing your all-time hip-hop album rankings, an album that has to be mentioned at the top of those rankings. And that is not necessarily a full-on hip-hop album either. And it didn't even, I think, get nominated for the hip-hop category that year. I think it got nominated in the R&B old rhythm and blues chat. Should we look that up real quick? Because that's where, now it's spelled rhythm. Is it what is best? There we go. Oh, here we go. That R&B album. Shout out Victoria May. Another ring star. Maybe we should pivot to take to Victoria challenge. No, yeah, so education nominated in the category, along with, of course, let's see, SZA nominated here too. Did SZA lose in this category, chat? Where's she at? Am I crazy? What category did it nominate in? Let's see, chat. Did it not get nominated for best? Oh, because maybe have split categories up. Since then. Yeah, okay, so it's best progressive R&B album now. So maybe does that mean it trends a little bit more pop than traditional R&B? So you get Steve, Lacey, and Lizzo, the Carters though. So the Weeknd, Beyonce's in here, Rihanna, Franco. R&B category. This would be the most stacked category in the Grammys. Yeah, SZA, of course, getting down to Control, 2018. But yeah, this education of Lauryn Hill gets brought up in these conversations all the time, rightfully so. The point is, if an album is an album that the hip hop community has grabbed onto, I guess why has the hip hop community necessarily grabbed onto SZA? SOS album conversation the same way. And not to make like a big point about the hip hop community. It's just is it something that people have thought of at this point? Because I do think that it does trend more a little. Like people do think of it more maybe in the pop world. But I honestly think like if we're talking if we're ranking best hip hop albums of the 90s and you're like, okay, the list is Illmatic 1 and Miseducation of Lauryn Hill 2. Like we were ranking around, do it however you want. Rate it out. How you rank? Miseducation is going to be in your top 5 or 3 or whatever you're not Rushmore. You get it to be. And if we're ranking albums for the 2020s, at this point for albums, if Miseducation be in that conversation, I think SOS to be in that conversation. It is. I get it too. It's almost maybe not even. It's obviously not rap albums, but hip hop's a lot bigger than just the rap. I'm not making groundbreaking here. And I think, of course, SZA is hip hop. It's the take, but just like I just want to make sure that when the conversation starts happening, especially as we enter 2025, too, kind of the decade halfway point, when we start talking about the best hip hop albums of the conversation, like I think it is fair to bring up SOS in the mix that group. If you're gonna bring up Miseducation, and again, I don't want it to seem like I'm like, hey, we need to take Miseducation. Like I have the Miseducation in that group. Like that's why I'm making the point. It's like I kind of like for me, this is the Miseducation of the 2000s. I don't know if that's a perfect comparison stylistically and all that stuff. But that's the album that maybe goes a couple different directions. For a hip hop album, maybe it crosses over into the R&B and some of the pop stuff, but the hip hop has enough of those hip hop elements in it. Like to me, there's enough. Do we pull tracks back up, chat? And obviously, for people's background as well too, with searching for it before. I guess here. Okay, there we go, chat. So the track list, because I guess she's not really. I guess it is fair that she's not necessarily rapping the same way that Lauryn Hill does in Miseducation. I'm not necessarily saying that. I just think that an album in this category could be considered. Like throw Rihanna in the mix, man. If you want to start ranking hip hop albums, like why can't we rank Rihanna albums in the mix? But a Don Toliver feature, I mean that's hip hop. Travis Scott and ODB, shout out. And Kill Bill as well too. I feel like, that could be. It's definitely more of a pop song, but SOS is kind of a rapping. SOS is a rap song for sure. We can count that. And I think I'm down to count R&B as well too. So I guess my point is zone. It would have been I would have been interesting to see what kind of reception and what kind of maybe marketing, what kind of moves that would have been for that. Because I guess I wonder what the strategy is for dropping this many songs on a deluxe, because it is like a full album worth of songs. And I guess a 2-disc, at the end of the day, getting a vinyl or a project or a bunch of discs or whatever of having like 2 hours or an hour 40 minutes of music is not that crazy. Like, I mean, you could just get a Drake album from the last couple of years. How long is Scorpion? Like, now Lana is just as long as Scorpion, but I guess maybe is it the resale value of having SOS attached to Lana, and they think that'll bump it up a little bit. But I almost wonder what this would have been like if they had labeled it as like a compilation album and done like an untitled unmastered sort of vibe with Lana, where you go, yeah, obviously this is not a studio album by SZA. Like, this is not going to be, the full project. This is not the marketing push when the Grammys come around and all that stuff. Like, this is not the thing. But this is the compilation album. These are some of the songs off of SOS. Maybe there's a couple of, a single or two in here that was newer or whatever. But it kind of be its standalone thing. Like, I kind of think that would have been a cool move as well, too. Because, like, you see what Jcole did with the 2014 Forest Hills Drive thing. And that's kind of like a standard deluxe issue where, you get the album reissued and then you kind of get that second disc or a couple songs attached to the end of the album that are the newer deluxe feature. And for Lana as well, too, they chose to put this deluxe on streaming. The deluxe portion of the album is the first part of the album. And then you would listen to deluxe. Saturn is the last song for the Lana portion. And then after Saturn, you would move into SOS, the title track, and then start playing the SOS album at that point, which was a kind of a cool feature that I liked as well, too, was putting a deluxe on front of the album, because that move was just new in itself. Like, I'm still working our way through hip hop history chat, but like, how many albums where the deluxe is on the front? Because that does set you up for something interesting instead of listening to the full album and then having those bonus tracks necessarily, where maybe the bonus tracks could be a little more random in terms of maybe it's not, if the album is a concept, maybe it's not in line with the concept. Like maybe there are additive elements to it, but maybe it's not a continuating part, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's just like a full-on sort of separate bonus track that really has nothing to do with it or whatever. But it's like, oh, like putting a deluxe at the front, and then you could set up something different for the listening experience for the rest of the album was like, oh, that is why at the end of the day, Top Dog is one of the best, labels in the industry, is because it's just like, oh, they're just trying something. They're doing something different. They're thinking ahead, and maybe, like, well, just like whatever you think about it. But like, yeah, they were thinking ahead. They were doing the album. And I think Lana was great as well, too. That's not what I was saying. There's another point I was going to make, but maybe we'll stumble back into it at some point. But either way, like Top Dog is great for thinking ahead. But in terms of the way they executed, just in terms of thinking through why they executed it this way instead of releasing it separately, just because I'm, curious to see what the industry thought process is behind all this stuff. But you also have that second disc as well too, kind of feature where if it's not going to be additive to the album in that way, and it's separate from the album, like it makes the listening experience it makes it make a little bit more sense. And I don't know if cohesive is the right word, but you get, okay, the album, it works, we know this album is great, and then here's the bonus songs, and you can listen to those kind of separate and on their own time. And I guess the one thing that I would say about the Lana thing to SOS, if I was just thinking about, again, why would you have a deluxe at the front of the album outside of just outside of literally just the draw of they click on Lana and that's the first song and you want them to play that instead. Like that is literally probably the reason, is just streaming. But if you go, okay, was this, an additive thing in a way to set up the listening experience for the rest of the album? I don't know if it necessarily was. Like, again, I think it's just an album. It's just like getting an album before the rest of the album, which is not a bad, like at the end of the day, it's good SZA songs and you're saving them into a playlist. Like it doesn't really matter. And if you want to listen to Lana, like it's, you click on the SOS Deluxe and you queue it up and it's right there. But it was just something I was thinking about as, oh, if you're going to do this move, you have the potential to do something here. And having SZA gives you a great album experience with those couple of songs. Like you get a couple of, hey, maybe this is this might be more of the hit song at the front of the album. And then, you sort of work your way through it with your B-sides. And, it's a little bit shorter as well too than maybe an SOS track list, but still, you're still able to get, a well-rounded SZA experience through the deluxe version. So that's not necessarily a bad thing to have that experience and then go into a second album experience with SOS if you want to do that. And if you're a huge SZA fan as well too, like you're probably just going to be bumping SZA radio all day anyways. Having that many songs in your rotation for SZA is not necessarily a bad thing. But I was just thinking, like, if you have the opportunity to do this sort of different, at least for me, something that I hadn't really ever seen before, which was those, and maybe I'm just not thinking of something super obvious where somebody, because like the Denzel Curry album where he dropped and like completed the Kings of the Mischievous South album, like I really like what he did with that as well too, where he interjected a couple of different songs throughout the track list, and the fact that he was able to do that with that album as well too and take advantage of that, where that it wasn't like a Good Kid Mad City album where it was this kind of storyline cohesive thing, and or like a another Kendrick album that maybe he does where there's like therapy stuff involved, or you've got the storyline that could go forward to backward both ways if you flip the album and listen to it backwards. Like it's a little bit of a looser album. He's having fun, he's dropping bars, it's energetic beats, and he can place a song here or there to kind of break up the sound of the track. And that was a cool way to drop a deluxe and complete. I guess it was a completed studio album as well too, so maybe he was working backwards with the mixtape, but I don't think that was the case. But either way, that was just the one thing that I guess it's not even like a criticism of Lana. It was just something I was thinking about. Maybe if another artist saw this and went, oh, I kind of like the idea of that. And you go, okay, yeah, you click on the streaming thing, the album's right there. And then you have the album right after it to listen to. But could I actually do something to set this album up in a different way? Maybe. than just the way the intro track and the way it just goes before. And maybe I'm just not. And like I'm saying, I like the Lana project individually itself is great, and maybe that's just all that I need to focus about. But it was more, I guess it's more just like, how do you take this if you're an artist and I guess work with it for the next step if you saw something that was there. And for me, seeing somebody do a new thing was always cool. And it's like, how do we evolve this and how do we continue? So I guess, yeah, it is. It's not even really a nitpick. It's just like a hypothetical thing that somebody could do in the future to potentially enhance a project. But the anyways, yeah, the Lana project. Should we look at the track list here as well too? Like we said, fantastic. We love having new SZA songs in the mix. And we got the Kendrick feature, of course. Another Life, Saturn. Crazy way to end it off. What Do I Do is crazy as well. In the 30 for 30 track with Kendrick, I am a little split on the track. Not that I don't think, again, it's not that it is a bad track, but I am a little curious on Kendrick's approach for this track because I liked having SZA bring a more melodic vibe and sort of making Kendrick do a more melodic thing on some of the songs for his album because, again, Kendrick is, for most of his career so such a conscious rapper and so lyrical, and maybe him having fun and getting melodic and sort of laid back with some of these beats is like a good mix up for his discography. But again, like SZA, that is kind of her thing. So Kendrick playing into that is not a bad thing at all. And him going, hey, maybe I'm just going to fit the vibe, lay back. And this is the mode that Kendrick is in right now as well, too, is this sort of fun, loose mode. But having a Kendrick verse with maybe a little bit more of a lyrical cut and maybe a little bit more of a traditional sort of, and not a traditional Kendrick flow, but maybe more of a Kendrick rapping flow would, again, the same way that SZA melodically would have been a good mix-up for Kendrick, I think that would have been a good thing to have in SZA's discography, is if you're going to have a Kendrick Lamar feature to bring in the Kendrick Lamar fans, it's like, hey, Kendrick, maybe actually do the Kendrick thing. And again, Kendrick is, like, at the end of the day, the way he's still able to wordplay and all this stuff, like, it's still a good verse, and it still works with the song, and it still works with all that stuff. But it was like, do we want to keep seeing Kendrick with SZA, I guess, do this thing? Because, Luther, I guess, is just one track, but we did see him on All the Stars as well, too. But Kendrick is rapping on that song. So I guess he does get one. Does he get one more, chat? Is it one for him, one for us, or is it two for him and one for us? I don't know how, after you win the rap battle and you ascend to the top of the game, is it two for him and one for us, or did he forget about the people already, chat? Who knows? But he also did do this with SZA as well, too, with her earlier project. Is it just Z, chat? This is an album I'm not as familiar with, even as Control. Yeah, Z is the album. Babylon. I knew that was the track that was Kendrick was on. Let's see if we can cue this up here quick. Let's see if we can get to the Kendrick feature. Don't. Here, let me mute quick. Sorry, chat. I don't want to get taken down. Apparently, I've not replayed this song enough to just know where the Kendrick feature is locked in at. Let's see here. Oh, I think we might have got it. Actually, wait. Maybe I need to re-listen to this song. Maybe he is actually dropping bars. Oh, testing, testing. Are we back in? Okay, sorry, I forgot to unmute after playing the song. Okay. Yeah, it definitely is a little bit more rappy on Babylon. Like, he definitely is dropping and going for more of a rap performance on there. Of course, a little bit more of a younger Kendrick as well, too. I mean, Z was dropped all the way back in 2014. So, he's not into the point where he's in the F a double entendre bag quite yet. But he is a little bit more of a laid-back cadence and not necessarily, giving too much of a extra rap performance in any kind of way. Like, again, for SZA discography having that mix in there, because she's only the only other rappers or people, I guess, from sort of hip-hop she is collaborating with on a consistent basis. Like, Travis Scott was also featured. Oh, yeah, Doves in the Wind maybe is the song where he goes a little bit more melodic. Let's see here. Yeah, he's doing a little bit more singing here. I guess I don't even know if it's not singing, it's more. But of course, Love Galore with Travis Scott is iconic off of this song. Off of this project. The Weeknd as well, and the remix of that with the Calvin Harris's, kind of a funky vibe as well. Broken Clocks, if you want to get feeling super emotional. So like we're saying, there are songs off of Control that are in our rotation, but we need to definitely go back and replay this one as well. Maybe, I'm feeling like it might be 2025 is the year of Control. Like we said, 2024 was the year of SOS. So maybe now we start fully committing into that back catalog. But yeah, outside of Travis Scott, Don Toliver was the other hip-hop guy she was collaborating with. So she's already going to get those sort of singy melodic performances with the other collaborators she's seeking out. So you bring in Kendrick and you would assume that, maybe having that sort of diversity, you would bring him in to have that diversity in your discography. But of course, having a Kendrick song is not going to be a bad thing either. But I don't think that this matches Luther. So if there's going to be a song from 2024 that these two do, unfortunately, it's going to be off of GNX. And I think it's going to get the replay off of the Kendrick side of things. But like we were saying, this album is stacked. And that song as well, too. It's not necessarily a skip or anything. It's just like, Kendrick, maybe helps us out. Give her a verse. And maybe she told him to... Maybe she's curating that as well, too. So maybe I need to say, SZA, let Kendrick drop a verse. Let the man do some bars. But it also shows you as well, too, I think, Kendrick's curation ability, like, for himself. Like, how well he knows his abilities, but how well his ear is tuned for his sound. And just the melodic vibe that he does go for, like he was, like I was saying, those beats on... Pride, on Love, on maybe even like, I guess Die Hard, he gets a little singy on the hook. But, he is still doing a little bit more rap on that. But even beats like that, like there is still like and a lot of that is sound wave as well too, and what he's been able to curate in terms of a sound. But when he's able to go into that bag for that production, like it just matches what Kendrick is able to do so perfectly. So to me, like with what he is doing on Luther, like, and again, it is Luther in Kendrick's discography compared to 30 for 30 in SZA's discography in the diversity of those two things. But just Kendrick's performance on Luther and his matching to the cadence to that beat and all that stuff, it feels like that just lines up, so perfectly for his abilities. And I think he is kind of getting maybe that recognition as sort of the best curator and I'm not just saying like in hip hop now, like maybe of all time, just the full album experience is tough because, at the end of the day, still like as a curator, Kanye, it's hard to, but still, like, Kanye now, Vultures, I don't know if that's perfect curation. So until Kendrick gets a Vultures, like, is he still on top? But do you have to compare, what is Kendrick at now? Like 6 albums? Do you have to compare Kendrick's 6 versus Kanye's first 6 and do it that way? And compare them at different points in the game? Or do you have to compare total careers to total careers? But we know that Kendrick is getting that. He's Mount Rushmore curator at this point, regardless. Like, if you're just going as a full album, like if you had to executive produce an album from a rapper, if you're an up and coming rapper and you get a legend to help you put a full project together, and not that there's a bad choice for the names that I would throw out, but just to think about like the complete album experience that you would get. And maybe, especially in modern times as well too, maybe comparing some historical names would not be like a good thing, but just go all time, put it in any era. Like, let's throw some big names out there, chat. Like, would you go like Nas or Kendrick? Just to think about the sound that Kendrick is going to get, the album experience that he's going to get. There's going to be a live element that he could help you curate with that as well too. The branding and sort of world building. Nas can brand and Nas can do all that stuff as well too. But, we've seen Kendrick take it to another level. Like, Kendrick versus Travis Scott as a curator. Travis Scott is a producer, so his sort of curation abilities come from a different background, knowing that his hands are literally putting the music together, versus maybe Kendrick not so much. But, if Kendrick was in there helping you pick the beats, and I'm sure Kendrick is helping, with the samples that are being chosen and the direction that the beats are going, and he's going to help you, even with things like demos, like the cadence that he would give you on a certain verse and the certain options that he might help you out with on how to deliver a bar. Like, all of those things, he might just be the number one guy to help you make a rap album if you were putting it together. And again, you could work with Kanye, you could work with Jay-Z, you could work with Nas, you could work with Pac if you wanted to go back in history. Who put together is Ready to Die Puffy? Like, who do you want to work with if you're trying to put together an all-time album? But anyways, that gets us off the point of the SOS Deluxe and Lana. And really what I wanted to say is, yeah, SOS, we need to mention it when we're talking about those year-end lists. I just want to see it in the mix. Like that ranking that I have, chat, when I was ranking all-time albums, like I threw SOS in there just to see where it would go. And make no mistake, chat, it's should I see maybe other albums? And again, I get it, with Lauryn Hill versus SZA, like she is like Lauryn Hill's a rapper, like I get that, but still respect. maybe I just am justifying, and maybe I'm not even justifying, but I'm literally just ranking my own rotation. I know it is what it is, chat, of course, but do I want other people to throw SZA in their rankings as well? Absolutely. Oh man, chat, I was looking at my rankings for albums. I might actually have it as album of the decade. But like, if we're ranking, when did this album drop? I guess, technically 2019. If we were going like, yeah, Forever Story's 2022. If we were going like, I guess same year, Forever Story versus SOS. I mean, I would have probably Forever. That's a tough one, chat. If I was just going out, like, I mean, I told you SOS was probably in my rotation a little bit more, but I'd probably have to give the Forever Story the nod as, that's a close one though, chat. But see, that's what I mean. Like, in the mix with that kind of stuff. When was Alfredo 2019 as well? Alfredo was 2020. Okay, so yeah, Alfredo has got to be in the mix. Ooh, maybe it's Alfredo. But, Heroes and Villains, the off season, Tyler's albums that he's now dropped. Do we have to put Utopia in the mix at like is it like a top 10-ish album of the decade? I mean, at this, I'm projecting out a little bit as well too, but for the moment that it had, where does For All the Dogs rank, chat? Like, there's some albums in here that we have to consider, but I think SOS obviously as an album, it's gonna hold a candle to all those albums from a quality standpoint. But like I'm saying, I feel like people should join me in throwing SOS in their little hip hop rankings. Chat, it's just to give credit where credit is due. And I think there is a lot of overlap between the characters. Now, you go look at rising talent like Doechii, and if we're thinking hip hop and an artist that can rise up in the hip hop rapper. And again, SZA's top dog as well too. Like, she's with all these hip hop guys. Like, she's running in the hip hop scene. So the fact that she's this attached to it, it's like she's basically there. And I get, again, she may not be literally dropping the bars as the rappers, but she is like every bit in these circles as the people in them. And she's, the fact that she's running laps around him from making an album standpoint is not necessarily her fault. And we necessarily shouldn't leave her out of the rankings for that sake. But, Doechii, you get the comparison of her rising through the actual hip hop scene, but she can also do some of this R&B stuff. And she has this versatile game where she's going to give you a full variety of types of songs on an album as well. Like, that kind of versatility makes her special. And maybe that comparison to like a Lauryn Hill type is a little bit more like that actually is the comparison to make because, again, of the hip hop background. And it's not to, again, the comparison is not to say that SZA is not on potential to be a GOAT like Lauryn Hill. It's just like, if we're trying to compare play styles as all, like, would SZA's play style be compared to Lauryn Hill, and by proxy would SOS be compared to Miseducation? Probably not. But from my rotation standpoint, from the albums that I'm bumping a lot, chat, those two albums are going to be in the mix. And like I was saying, I just think the R&B vibes as well, too, from both these albums is what I love so much. Like, I mean, obviously, the Miseducation is so stacked, but I don't know, chat. There's just something about a late night drive, throwing on the back half of this album. And I guess you just play the whole album, but when, the back half, the R&B cuts start coming on and the vibe just chills out, there's just something about Lauryn Hill that makes, just everything seems okay, chat, when she's singing and she's dropping bars. And SZA, it's the same kind of comforting feeling. So we just want to pay respects to that and the quality of their music in our rankings. And if, we just want to make sure that if people ever looked at our rankings, that they are a fair representation of us as well. And, SOS would have to be in the mix for that. Like, there's just no way you could tell the story of our music rotation without having SOS in there. So, all time, chat, it starts climbing up the rankings. SOS versus Supreme Clientele. Are we even in the same category anymore? But I think it's fair, chat. Put them in the list. Put them in the same list. Just do it. But Jcole as well, too, with the 10th anniversary album, like we were saying. And at this point, chat, I mean, the fall off has to be dropping in like the next 2 weeks. Like, he can't, I don't even know what is left to drop at this point. Can he drop anything else? He has released all of the mixtapes on streaming. He's done the show, the pod, the inevitable audiobook or whatever for all these weeks. So let's see the schedule for that, actually. Because I know that these releases have gone in correlation with what he has been talking about in his journey, his music journey. And as he hits a certain point in his career, that project gets released onto streaming. So yeah, the last part of season 1 of Inevitable was December 12th with episode 10. That was the Forest Hills Drive part 2 episode. And then, yeah, I think the vinyl released right around that time. Part 1 was December 9th. So, yeah, in that span, the pre-order and all that stuff dropped. And then, of course, today, it ended up dropping on streaming. And it's not even that, he just needs to drop the fall off because he's out of stuff to drop. It's like, he's obviously building up toward it, and he's building up towards something. But it is working as well, too. Like, there is a buzz. People are getting excited and more hyped every time he drops stuff. And he had the announcement as well, too, that the Dreamville Festival is, I believe, ending in its 5th year. And, Jcole as well, too, has hinted at retirement. In the past, in this sort of era, in his career. So the fact that these things are not necessarily just pointing toward the fall off, but maybe pointing towards something else, like maybe also points to the fact that the fall off could be happening soon. But again, the momentum that he is building with this kind of stuff, like it's not even, is he doing it to drop the fall off? Like this may be all part of the pre-rollout, but it's like, just drop the fall off anyways, because this is the pre-rollout. Like you've done so much work. People are excited. People are talking about your music again. Like there really is no more perfect time to drop your songs. And, the fans, it seems like the fans have really rallied strong, like in terms of like an online presence. Like people are not afraid to speak up for Jcole sort of GOAT status anymore, especially after the 7-minute drill stuff. So it's like the timing is right, whether or not you were thinking about dropping it. It just should be dropped anyways. It's just, somebody should go to Jcole and be like, the fall off needs to be dropped within the next couple of weeks. So maybe that's the start of 2025, is Jcole is going to kick us off with some great music. But it's like, okay, the timing is now. And maybe this all was just building up to this, the 10th anniversary album. This was a great sort of memory lane down Jcole's career. And again, like we saw Travis Scott re-release Days Before Rodeo on streaming, and maybe it's like Jcole's just like, well, if you can do that, I can one-up you and just take fans down the entire memory lane and just drop basically, a mini documentary biography and just give fans my whole life story back on streaming. Like I can do you one better. So maybe it's just that and just us reliving that history. But again, it's like, okay, the fall off has to be here, Chad. It has to be time. We've waited long enough. The build-up is here. I mean, the man has edged us long enough. The teasing is insane. Jcole, quit teasing the fans, brother. What are you doing? I mean, we all knew that Jcole was a smooth and charming guy with the way that he talked on his tracks and with some of the clips that we've seen him with the ladies. But, I mean, the brother might actually be a menace, because this teasing is nuts. The teasing is crazy. The fans cannot wait anymore. Pause. Hey, yo, chat. That is crazy talk. Let's take a quick timeout on that note, because, oh boy, Jcole is, maybe I shouldn't take a timeout on the note after the teasing talk. Maybe we should stay on a few minutes just to prove a point. Just to prove that it's just literally a IT timeout. Oh boy, you'll just have to trust us. This ain't a Louis C.K. bit. Okay, we're back, chat. 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Indiana has the ball. They need to do something quickly, or otherwise we're going to be looking at Notre Dame trying to put Indiana out of their misery. Will Indiana be making Notre Dame shoot free throws at the end of the game? Stay tuned. We will find out. But, I mean, this is the worst kind of, not just the worst kind of game, people, but, I mean, Indiana as well, too. This is just like the worst kind of team where, and like we were saying, they were a controversial team in terms of how people valued them, but still, it's not that people valued them as a bad team. It was just, there was an elite group at the end of the college football season that we have to pick. You know, the group is getting less elite. Make no mistake. It's getting bigger and bigger, but still, pause. But it's still, you know, technically only 12 teams compared to a whole field of, you know, potential college football competitors, teams that are in the mix and actually do have a mathematical chance to win the college football national title. Like, you still only get to pick 12. And Indiana, it's just like, do we value them in that mix? And again, I think it's not like people were valuing them outside the top 20. Are they top 15, but are they, you know, 14 or 15? They're just not going to be 12. They're not going to be quite good enough to get in there. And pause, and especially the Ohio State game where you have one chance to kind of prove yourself against a good opponent, a ranked opponent for the season. And you really not just, you really get dominated in that game. And you really get shown that you're in potentially a different tier from these other teams, but you're still given a chance. And you're still valued and you're still respected on the work that you've done. And then you just go into another big game and you just totally you know, just totally do this again and totally have a bad performance and totally just not match up for these teams. And, you know, really the takeaway, chat, is the 12-team playoff is too big. And these teams like that are 10 and 11 and 12 really don't have a shot to win the college football playoff. And we should just narrow it back down to 4. It's been a long stream, chat, but we've gone from, should we expand to 64 teams to, should we go BCS title? I say just honestly let the AP decide at the regular season, and we don't even need to play a championship game. Back to newspaper days. Let's just have the newspaper crown a team the national champion and call it a day. It doesn't matter. It's going to be Oregon at the end of the day anyways. We're going to do, you know, all these years, we went through all these years to figure out that it's just going to be Alabama winning the national title, and occasionally they get beat by a team. Saban's going to win it, and maybe Dan Lanning is just the new Saban. I don't even feel like that's a hot take anymore. That's probably a take that Feinbaum's already had out there, especially since Feinbaum doesn't like Saban, and he's looking to replace him as soon as possible. He's probably already given Dan Lanning that title, and maybe Dan Lanning is just going to start just a run where he wins the national title every year. Oregon's number 1. They're undefeated. He transferred in Bo Nix last year. He transferred in Dylan Gabriel this year, and maybe he just the number 1 transfer team for quarterbacks. I don't know. Will Carson Beck transfer there next year? No, I think Carson Beck is still going to be a first-round, second-round guy. He goes into the draft, he's a second-round guy? Yeah? Maybe he's just out of eligibility anyways. But shout out to OKC as well, too. We should have mentioned that they got the win over Miami, which with 8 minutes left and Notre Dame with the ball driving, I mean, 8 minutes left. This is probably the last possession of the game. So start packing up your chairs now, people. Start putting the tailgate back together. The game is probably over. Notre Dame is probably going to run out the clock. But speaking of the clock running out, Jimmy's time in Miami is coming to an end, people. Make no mistake. It ended early tonight. And I think that might just be a representation of what we see a little bit later this year. Jimmy getting pulled from the team. Pause a little bit too early. What is the trade machine looking like for Jimmy Butler right now? Now, of course, Sam's not here, so we have to do it. Shout out to Simmons, Bill Simmons. Do we have to call him Mr. Bill Simmons? Be respectful. I don't know. If you're like a fan, you can just refer to these guys, you know, Simmons, Russillo, whatever. But since, you know, I don't know if we have to call him like Mr. Try to be respectful. It's not that we were being disrespectful. But anyways, shout out to Michael Porter, the Nuggets fans. Ready to see him go. Number one. And shout out to Zeke Naji for having the only tradable contract on the Nuggets. It's a credit to him for being a tradable player. That's not a diss at all. You have to be good. But Simmons, of course, has been floating out the Rockets as a potential team. He has liked the fits with MA and Jimmy as a couple alpha guys. Sorry to the Spotify people. We got to take a smoothie break real quick. Though you can watch this on Spotify. I forgot. The video will be up on Spotify as well. So go follow us over there. Don't forget. And we're on Apple as well, too. So apologize to the Apple people. Those are the only people that are just listening. So unfortunately, in the live stream era, we just take breaks to take a drink out of the smoothie. It's just what it is. Delicious, chat. Do we have a little bit extra left? Lick it off. Pause. Crazy, chat. Maybe we need... Do we need to get a straw? A metal straw, chat. Don't cancel us. We'll do the right thing. Even though the metal straw was probably made in some factory. So it's just all bad, chat. It's all bad. The world's messed up. But the Rockets for Jimmy Butler, which, of course, the Rockets have a ton of pieces if they want to try to pull off a trade. But the other trades that were kind of I was seeing on the trade machine here. Of course, Butler to the Lakers. The Lakers always making a sort of desperate save the season type trade is always in play. But I guess the question would be, why would the Lakers try to make a win now move for Butler? Like, the move would have to, of course, it's going to be Hachimura and it's going to be D'Angelo Russell just for contract purposes, but it's probably also going to have to be Austin Reeves as well, too, for Jimmy Butler. So, I don't know, has the conversation become, is Jimmy Butler for Austin Reeves enough? Straight up? Like, is that too much for Austin Reeves? But, or I guess what's the right way to say that? Is that too much for Jimmy Butler? Just giving up Austin Reeves? But I guess the question becomes, do you want to start giving up your younger and, especially good value assets as well, too? Like, assets? Do we got to pronounce the T? But, Austin Rivers, good contract, good player. Like, just a really valuable guy to have on your team. Do you want to start parting with young guys like that for an older Jimmy Butler to pair with an older core for a team that might not already win the title? Like, how much longer would this all be together? Yada, yada, yada. But like I was talking about with Sam when we were talking about the trade LeBron stuff that was getting floated around out there, like, I don't know if you can get a player in a trade that brings you the value that LeBron brings you. Like, there is real money involved with making a playoff run, so you can't underestimate the value of, what if you could trade LeBron for a star type guy and build a real, interesting, like, Davis is still a dude. Like, make no mistake. Like, you could build a title contender around Davis. I'm certain of it. Even though, I was going to say we haven't seen it, but I guess you could say that he was maybe the best. LeBron's always going to be the best player on the teams even when they won the title. But we get the phase of LeBron's career that he was in when that was happening. So if anybody was going to make the case for being the best player on those teams when LeBron was winning a title, of course it was going to be Davis, just by, again, a byproduct of where LeBron was at in his career and where Davis was at in their career, because obviously at their peaks, maybe only MJ was better than LeBron. But, if you could build a title-winning team through a LeBron trade around Davis, the playoff money that you could potentially get, of course, is a real factor. But, the value of having LeBron on your team is a real factor as well, too. LeBron is, of course, one of the, LeBron's the LeBron. And is there a player that could actually match that value on the court that LeBron brings you both on the court and off the court as well, too? Because, yeah, maybe some of the two-way stuff with LeBron is not there the same way, whatever. But You know, LeBron is still one of the better players in the league. We don't need to argue that. Offensively, the man is still elite, and if he's still a star the way he is there a player that is going to match that value? So I guess what I'm saying is I still think that it's okay to try to build around this team because of that fact. And again, it would have to be a move where you're like, we're winning the title. You're not trading LeBron for a couple of young players and like you're not trading LeBron for a bunch of picks. And I get the Kuminga thing and Wiggins and all that stuff, and you know, Golden State going to Steph and he stays in California, and that's a nice trade if it happens, for sure, for Golden State. But you know, for the Lakers, like you could do better than Kuminga for LeBron, right? Like, I mean, Kuminga for LeBron, that's probably there at any point in LeBron's career. Like, let's be honest. Like, at what point does LeBron have to get to where you can't trade him for Kuminga? Yeah, there's other pieces. You know, you got to lose out on Wiggins. Pods, like, yeah, Pods is nice. Could you get Pods back in LeBron trade? Would we have to think about it if Pods is in the deal? I don't know. Is that too much Pods, Reeds, and Connect? Like, you might not be. You can't have that many white guys on the court at the same time. But, you know, Reeves and Hero, a little white backcourt in Miami. the cocaine backcourt in Miami. I mean, we literally need to do this just so we can get the cocaine backcourt in Miami of Austin Reeves and Tyler Hero. That would be an all-time elite guard duo for the Miami Heat. But this type of move, I would actually be okay with this move. And again, Reeves for Butler is interesting at this point. There is some availability stuff with Butler. But, I mean, Butler's peak is better than Reeves's peak. And I think Connect can give you a lot of things that Reeves can give you. Like, offensively, they're both going to be offensive-focused players. And Reeves is a very solid defender. Like, Reeves will try, but Reeves is, at the end of the day, not going to go down as a two-way player. So if you're going to have an offensive-focused guard out there, like, Connect can be that. And if we're being honest, like, Connect might actually have a little bit more creation upside and a little bit more pop offensively than maybe Reeves can give you. And again, Reeves can get cooking. Like, Reeves is 17 a game this year. Reeves is playing really well. And efficient as well, too, kind of like Connect. Like, maybe it's the cocaine backcourt in Los Angeles. I don't know. Like, Miami is just it's so perfect for Miami. Miami's obviously a cocaine city. Like, Hollywood is a cocaine city, of course. But, I don't know, just cocaine in LA, it seems like in Miami it's like held up, you know? It's on a podium versus cocaine is like kind of like LA. It's not that it's secretive either, and it's not the 70s either too. Like, now Hollywood is all Ozempic and is ketamine still? Did Matthew Perry scare everybody off of ketamine? I'm not sure what happened there, but it's all these weight loss drugs. And I guess cocaine is a weight loss drug, make no mistake. But do you snort Ozempic? Maybe you snort it. Do you crush up a line or something? Maybe I just don't know as much about Ozempic as I thought. But I don't know. The cocaine backcourt in Miami makes more sense than the cocaine backcourt in Los Angeles. But they do have it right now with Connect and Reeves. But this, and again, like Hachimura and Russell, Hachimura is a valuable player for the Lakers because he's a wing. But again, you bring in a wing with Butler. Russell, I guess there's just more minutes for Max Christie. Oh, well. And again, Connect can kind of move into that Reeves role. So you don't have both of them, but you bring in an extra star with Jimmy Butler as well, and you can kind of boost up at least the name value of the team if you're not going to boost up, the actual on-the-court sort of playoff competitive product. Like, at least let's bring in another star. Let's sell some jerseys. Let's get some fans. Let's have a big three, a marketing campaign. Like, this is fun. And maybe a big four. You just put Connect in there. LeBron giving Connect to Noogie, maybe. I don't know if he already did that with Reeves. And Connect is not like I guess he would be giving Bronny the Noogie. So it'd be that's the five, the starting five for the Lakers on the magazine cover when they bring in Jimmy Butler. LeBron, Davis, Butler, Connect, and Bronny. Yeah, that's kind of bleak, chat. But make no mistake, they're bleak already. So it's like, do you want to be bleak with Reeves and Russell and Hachimura? Or do you want to be bleak with Butler, Jimmy Butler? Yeah. Bring in a star player. Now, There is one problem, chat. You would look at the numbers here and go, I mean, how much more of a perfect trade do you have to get? The salaries. I mean, Jimmy Butler, 48.6. You put these 3 salaries together for the Lakers, it's 48.7. You'd think this trade would go through and it would be absolutely perfect. But apparently, in the new CBA, it is very strict, chat. The trade machine says you need to cut $130,000 out of this trade. There's no player in the league that is making $130,000. I don't even know how you would make that happen. Could they just pay? Could just Jimmy Butler just like take a $150,000 pay cut? Can they just fine Jimmy Butler? Like, I don't know how this works. Like, they can only take back 100% of the salary plus $0. I mean, that is crazy, chat. That is crazy work. But could you restructure? The Lakers can only take back $146 million. So they would literally have to give Reeves $130,000 more. I guess we just assume they're giving it to Reeves. Giving it to the white man. Give it to Hachimura. Maybe he, but maybe there's a way to call into the league. It's the Lakers. It's getting Jimmy Butler to the Lakers for Russell and Hachimura. So this is like karma for the Stern reversal of the Chris Paul trade. And maybe it's a little bit different stakes. Like getting Chris Paul with Kobe Bryant at a peak Chris Paul is different than getting a 35-year-old Jimmy Butler. But if the league can just like look the other way on this one and get Jimmy Butler into LA, that would be pretty cool. But another trade that I was thinking about, and I didn't have a ton of trades cooked up. I just thought that Lakers one did actually I actually think that makes a lot of sense. Like, they're already not competitive. Yeah, maybe that deal doesn't make them more competitive, but at least you get a star in there. That's fun. Build around LeBron with stars. Who cares? Otherwise, see, the thing is with the trades, and I was listening, I was listening to Simmons talk about, the trade machine, Picasso talk about how hard the trade machine is. Pause. Whoa. Hey, yo. How difficult the trade machine is to work with, and how the league has made trades impossible to pull off. And it's like, yeah, that is the case. Like we're saying here with this trade, it's like $130,000 off, and we just can't do it. But it's almost like you could look at it the other way and go, the league has really simplified it, where it's almost like they kind of want just the one-for-ones. And trades have always been like, how do we hodgepodge this stuff together? Obviously, like we want to pay as little as possible, but maybe it's through a lot of assets you're paying in total a little overall amount, but a lot of contracts with guys that maybe are not going to get minutes. And then maybe you go, we're not going to value these future picks because we're going to be a good team. And we bundle all this together and we get this player. And then, you get an elite player like Anthony Davis, you got to make a move for Paul George. We got to actually give up good players and good picks. We got to do the whole combination. Now they've kind of, and you could do that stuff if you had a stacked team, and you could stack your team extra by just finding spare parts to try to trade. And now essentially you can't trade your spare parts, which is like, oh, well, now how do you make a trade on the trade machine? The trade machine's impossible. But it's more like it has to be an equal, like it not just has to be an equal trade, but maybe they want the one-for-one swaps where, if they're trading for Jimmy Butler, maybe it would have to be an actual equal salary guy. Like Trae Young. Trae Young's in the $40 million a year range. Let's see if this would work. Like, just in theory. Because this is $5 million off. So way more than 130, but maybe the salary. So yeah, like this works out. And it's equal as well, too, on the value trade. So maybe this is a trade, chat. Trae Young for Jimmy Butler. Are the Hawks fans tired of Trae Young yet? He's been cooking lately. Even though he got cooked by Wemby in overtime. But he has been clutch. He was clutch in that game as well, too, and almost hit the shot over Wemby at the end to avoid overtime and just straight up get the win. But this is the stuff they want, where you're not trading your spare parts to upgrade to get Jimmy Butler. Like, that's not how they want the league to work. They want it to be, if you're trading a star player, you're probably going to have to give up a star player. And it would have to be a move like this is the type of move where you go, Jimmy Butler is at a point in the franchise where they're not winning as much as they should. They feel like they should with him at the star position. He's a little bit older. They go, how do we build forward with him? Maybe it's time to move on. Atlanta, they're on the other side where they're like, we're looking to take the next step up. And maybe we can't do that if Trae Young is the guy that is going to be at the helm of everything. So, again, maybe this is not a perfect trade. This was more just to compare salaries and say, like, what type of deal the league wants. But where you have two teams that just want to swap stars or just want to swap players. And, maybe there is, like we're saying, a situation where you can pull together maybe barely a 3-for-1. Like, you start getting into the 4-for-1s and, you'd really have to be desperate if you're LA. Like, you'd really have to think Jimmy Butler is going to get you to that point in his career. And then if Jimmy Butler is really at that stage at that point where you have to go into the 4-for-1s, you're probably not going to, if you're LA specifically, you may not have enough pieces even with the 4. It just might not be a tempting of enough 4 plus the picks. You wouldn't even have the picks. But whatever. Like, this is, to me, like, the idea of the CBA, like, this is the ideal trade for the modern NBA. They do not want Paul George getting swapped for all of these picks for Los Angeles, and then, Durant getting swapped for the picks and stuff for, I guess that trade was a little bit more equal. That was more of a sign-and trade for him going to Brooklyn. But Harden going to Brooklyn, you're able to sign and trade Durant, then maybe Brooklyn was crafty. I mean, all these teams were kind of crafty, chat. There's always a reason. And maybe that was the problem with the CBA. It's like, the Warriors thing was kind of a fluke where they mishandled sort of the rise in the salary cap. So you go, okay, that scenario is not going to happen again. And that's a big one too. Pause. Like, that's such a big outlier in NBA history where maybe they overreacted to that a little bit too much in this CBA. Where you go, in terms of the trade, what is the trade that is actually built the super team in that way, where the team has become too over the top powerful? Because, again, the Miami super teams were free agents. The Durant super teams were free agents. And the free agency stuff is a little bit different as well, too, with the CBA. Like, that stuff gets a little bit more difficult as well. But maybe they just overreacted to some fluke things that happened. And we should have gone back and maybe we will do that, chat. We'll write that down. The super teams that got built and how they got built. And was this like through the normal course of the league, or was it actually more of these scenarios where the league salary cap boomed like this? Because I do think that the Miami situation had a couple of things that, it's just like these things had to line up. And I know they all had to line their contracts up together as well, too. So they all talked about that. So, maybe that is one that you go, they did work within the structure of the league. But I'd be curious to see. How they reacted to that kind of stuff. And it was like, did they need to change the structure of the league, or did they just have a couple of moments where stuff went awry, like the Durant thing, and just mishandled this one aspect of it? And because, again, if you fix the element of the salary cap is not going to spike that much, then a team is just not going to have that ability. So that element of super teaming just goes away. So you don't need to maybe go as extreme on the CBA, because that's not going to happen again, because you know how to fix it going forward. So, but to me, this is what they're going for with the NBA trades. They're like, yeah, you want to trade a star player? Guess what? You're going to have to give up you just trade another star player. Like, that's how it's going to work. You're not going to add a star for a star. Like, you're going to have to get creative, and it's going to have to be stuff like this. And not that we're not going to see trades, not that Jimmy Butler's not going to get traded. He will get traded, and it may be a 3-for-1, a 4-for-1, some kind of deal. But this is how they want to align it, in my mind, more so than not. And I guess, I can't say for certain if the league was sitting down and within the conversations, they were like, how do we want the trades to look? Oh, we want them to be more 1-for-1 star players. Like, let's do that. Like, who's to say if that's actually what happened? But, just in working with the trade machine, like, again, you're doing all of these trades where you go, I can't find a way to get the 3-for-1. I can't find a way to get the 4-for-1. Like, it's just impossible to get all the salaries to line up. You see, like, let's go back to LA real quick. Let's just see as an example. Like, we were literally $130,000 off. And maybe, shout out to Fanspo, like, great trade machine. Maybe the actual CBA would not account for those $130,000. Wink, wink. Whatever. But, where else are they going to get those, 100, like, where else are you going to get that? But even if it's not even if it's $2 million, like, where are you going to get that? Because D'Angelo Russell's your third highest contract. Davis is your next. You're trading your third, your fourth, and your fifth highest paid guys for Jimmy Butler. So now you're going to trade a fourth player. Like, at that point, LA's just giving up too much. They can't give up all these guys. They have no more guys to give up. You're going to give up Bronny? You're going to give up Maxwell Lewis? So maybe Maxwell Lewis is not a deal break. You just throw Maxwell. Maybe it just all gets fixed by throwing in Maxwell Lewis. But maybe that causes its own problems, chat. Let's just see. And maybe the Heat don't even want Maxwell Lewis. Maybe we have to find a third team to take him. Okay, so you could do it. And the Heat, much better. I mean, they're getting a whole starting lineup. And I'm sure maybe they value D'Lo. But maybe under Spoelstra, that trade, I mean, D'Lo after a trade, I feel like could be pretty good. So maybe if you're another team and you have a good culture, him on a shorter contract, maybe he's not the worst. Oh, we lost the trade machine. I didn't think we would go back that far. So you just see, like, the trade either becomes, like, too big, pause, or you're just not able to quite get the pieces. But the trades that are, of course, very easy to work are the 1-for-1s, the easy swaps. So you go, hey, you want to trade Jimmy Butler? Go find another team that has another star player that's not happy and go swap another star, because we do not want Jimmy Butler to now all of a sudden be on the Boston Celtics. And now all of a sudden, like, Boston, like, that's literally the rule. The rule is for the second APR team, you cannot trade two players. Like, I guess the league is literally saying it. It's not even a take, chat. It's just me reminding you of what the CBA is, and actually, sometimes it just kind of dawns on you that, oh yeah, that means this, and because that means this is not going to happen. Like, because the league wants to have these, more solo trades, you're not going to get the big trades. Like, it's just simple as that. And yeah, the trade machine maybe quote unquote becomes more difficult because you're not able to assemble those spare parts, but also it becomes more simple. Like, again, if Boston wanted to trade Jimmy Butler, maybe back in the day, back in the old CBA, 48, maybe they go, hey, Derek White, we really appreciate it, like $20 million. And also, like, the ability to, the percentage of the money that you had to trade was like, I forget even what it was. It was so little, chat. It was like 50%. It was like 3/4 of the money. Like, you barely even had to get there. Like, you literally probably could have given up Derek White, and it's starting to get a lot, though. Derek White for Butler. You probably are not touching this Boston team. Boston's too good. Boston's a bad example. Maybe, let's see. Of course, Boston is the most, stacked team. What about, like, New York, chat? Like, Bridges at $23 million is, of course, going to be way off. But back in the day, you probably could have done Bridges, and you probably could have done Mitchell Robinson. I mean, that is, quite a bit for Jimmy. Again, Jimmy Butler's at a different phase in his career as well, too. So, but the point is, this is like $11 million off. Like, that might have been close enough. Where two guys, $11 million away, you bring in Jimmy Butler. Now all of a sudden you have Butler, Brunson, OG, Anunoby. Like, all of a sudden you go, wait a second. How do we just add Jimmy Butler to this lineup for a team that you go, we don't really have any centers anyways. Like, let's just trade the one we have and bring in another wing and just stack up on that. But now they would actually have to go, oh, you want to bring in Jimmy Butler for $48 million? Who's your other star player? Yeah, Karl Anthony Towns? You'd have to trade him Towns. That's just is what it is. That's how the rules work. And if you're lucky enough to have not paid for a star guy like that, maybe Orlando, maybe OKC, maybe, you know, the other team that like Simmons was floating out there, like Houston. You know, again, from an asset standpoint, like these are the teams that are able to do these types of moves as well. And Houston is different, yeah, because they have that Van Fleet deal. So they could just get to a lot of the money by giving them Van Fleet. But let's see, if it was Houston, like what would I want to get if I was Miami? I mean, obviously you'd want to get Amen Thompson. That would be a no-brainer. The problem is I just don't know how to value Jimmy Butler at this standpoint. Like, obviously if you're Miami, you're selling an all-NBA level player, a playoff impact guy, a guy who can still win you a title. But if you're Houston, what are you buying? And I guess 2 years left on the contract. What's the contract look like? Player option for 52 at the end of next year? Okay. So he's not necessarily a long-term commitment, so that's not too bad. So I don't know if that could, I don't know what that does to the price. If you're the Rockets, do you go, well, we're not going to commit for him to a long time. You know, we're not necessarily going to give up that much. Or do you go the other way? If you're Miami, you go, you know, you're going to be able to get out of this deal shorter. Like, you're going to have to pay a premium for the convenience of getting Jimmy Butler on that deal. Now, of course, Miami could end up losing the deal doing that. But, do you want Dylan Brooks back if you're Miami? See, look at this. See, chat, even Houston is kind of an interesting team. Like, if it's Van Fleet, if we just put him in to get the money, like Van Fleet's a good player, of course. And again, that's a short-term contract. So if you're Miami, that's not disastrous. That's not going to set you back in the future. Bringing in a big contract like Van Fleet, you'll be able to move on from that necessarily if you would need to in the future. But which of the young guys do you want to give up for Jimmy Butler? And I guess for what, chat? Like, Reed Shepherd. So if you're Miami, like, you have to get one of Jalen Green, Reed Shepherd, Jabari Smith, or Amen Thompson. And if it's Jabari Smith, you probably can't just take Jabari Smith by himself. Like, it probably has to be, like, do we have to go to the Tari Eason? Cam Whitmore? Like, Whitmore has to, I guess Whitmore has to be in the trade. Sorry, Whitmore. But, I mean, if you're Miami, I mean, wow, Cam Whitmore in Miami? I don't know. He might be too cool for Miami. That might end up being disastrous. But Jayshawn Tate, like, Houston really does have a deep roster. Pause. That is crazy. You could just throw in Jayshawn Tate. Jayshawn Tate's almost 30, though? Wait a second. Maybe not so fast. I mean, if it's Whitmore and Van Fleet alone, are you able to just take that from a salary standpoint? Oh, and the Heat are 2 wins better. This is a playoff team if they just bring in Van Fleet and Whitmore. Maybe that's enough, chat. Is that enough if you're Miami? I guess maybe the stats value Van Fleet a little bit more than I do. To me, it's just, and I love Whitmore, like, but to me, this trade is Whitmore for Butler. Like, Van Fleet is minutes for now. And I just am not a big fan of trading of minutes for now. With all due respect to Van Fleet. Like, and those are really good minutes for now, but I just don't know how that helps you if you're Miami and your ultimate quest to, you know, your ultimate quest is going to be winning a title. And you go, well, tanking's not winning a title, but it's like, okay, tanking is the quickest route to get back to winning the title. So I'm in favor of winning the title, whether it's tanking or bringing in good players to win the title. And to me, filling up a trade with the Van Fleet for the sake of moving Jimmy Butler is just doing it for the sake of moving Jimmy Butler. So again, maybe 2 years on his deal. I guess he does have a player option. So at the end of the day, he could threaten to opt out and just move on, I guess. And you could lose him for nothing. So I guess Van Fleet and Cam Whitmore, and just Cam Whitmore is better than nothing. So at the end of the day, if this is what you got, this is what you got. But that's just a lot. And maybe that's not a lot on Cam Whitmore. Again, Jimmy Butler, he signed as a free agent, you know. If you go like cost in, cost out at the end of the day, I don't know, chat. Like, maybe it is not like that is, maybe that's not the too much pressure on Cam Whitmore to like live up to Jimmy Butler and be the next thing. Because again, it's not like, Jimmy Butler, his history to Miami run. Like, he took that team to a title, had a historic finals performance as well. But, it was in the bubble. Does it really count? No, Jimmy Butler's Miami run was elite. So I guess it is big shoes to fill, of course. But it's just, they've been a little more in the back half of the playoff seeding over the last couple of years. But if you could get one more piece as well, like again, Jimmy Butler's All-NBA, I feel like you still are thinking that he's going to be at an all-star level when he's out there. So is Van Fleet and Whitmore enough to just trade for another all-star in that mix? Could you get... Because if you're bringing in Butler, you're obviously gearing yourself more to win now as well, too. So Whitmore is good for that because Whitmore's a little bit more of a project. You could send him off. But like Jalen Green is a little bit more ready. At 22 years old, he's ready to go. Ready to make a playoff run. But Reed Shepherd's 20. So just from a timeline standpoint, maybe he doesn't fit with what you're doing with Butler. But still... I don't know. Does Reed Shepherd thrill you if you're Miami? Maybe he does. Maybe that's the cocaine backcourt. Reed Shepherd and Tyler Hero. Maybe it's Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson. Do they already have it? The cocaine backcourt. Shout out. Sven Goon? Is he available? I just don't think you could get Tari Eason. Could you get Jabari Smith? Is there any way that Houston would say yes to this deal? Ooh, too much for Miami. Wow, cut $7 million from Miami's deal. So what if you take Van Fleet out and put in Dylan Brooks? Maybe he's not as thrilling for Miami if you're instead of Van Fleet. Okay, cut $4 million from the Rockets deal. We got to trade another player? Oh, boy. So this might end up being a little 2-for-4 swap chat as we build this trade. Is Haywood Highsmith going to be in the move? And he's not a bad rotation piece. Again, if you're going for a win now, maybe a little... Would Jayshawn Tate for Haywood Highsmith save you money? No, that would cost you more, unfortunately. Haywood Highsmith's going to be in the $5 million range. Could you go Steven Adams for where? The rookie? That's your first-round pick, though. You're just going to give up your first-round pick like that? That'd be kind of crazy. Kevin Love? So would you go Kevin Love for Adams? Is this now going... Is this making too much stuff up, chat? We might be in fantasy land now. So it'd be Jimmy Butler and Kevin Love for Cam Whitmore, Jabari Smith, Dylan Brooks, Steven Adams. Trying to figure out what the best order to read that in was. Who was the centerpiece of that deal? But I guess it's Cam Whitmore and Jabari. That might be a lot for Jimmy Butler. And I guess the Rockets do get one win better. Kevin Love, sneaky on the advanced stats. A little 3.09 LeBron rating? Kevin Love? One of the best players in the league? Best player in the trade? Kevin Love? But, yeah, I guess it would have to be something like this. If you're Houston. If you're Miami, I honestly, Cam Whitmore and Jabari Smith, that's great. I think that's kind of fine. Maybe there's a pick or two you were able to haggle in there as well. I just assume picks. We'll assume picks for now, for the sake of time. Not have to get past the stipend roll. Oh, Chad, a little flurry from Indiana. 30 seconds left. They're down 25. Are they going for the onside kick? Okay, Rourke with a little pep on his step on the sideline. I mean, Indiana loves being in a semi-close game. They love a double-digit loss to a good team. As long as we don't get down by 20 or whatever, we'll be in the mix. And did they cover versus Ohio State? They didn't cover the onside kick. Notre Dame got that, so the game will be over. Notre Dame will knee this sucker out, and we'll take the dub. And Indiana did not cover tonight. Again, down 6.5. This was not what Vegas was thinking. But shout out to Notre Dame, man. The first ever 12-team college football playoff game about to be in the books in the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. You know, an historic school, as much as we, you know, maybe at odds with the old Fighting Irish at sometimes. Do we fight with the Fighting Irish? It's in the name, chat. They're not a group that it's in their it's in their nature to get along with. But we're talking about the Notre Dame fans to Michigan fan relationship, not the Irish to other people relationship. But a historic team, a historic venue to start off an historic moment. I think it makes a lot of sense. And they get a chance to play in the Sugar Bowl versus Georgia. So the first ever 2-time bowl winner will be this year. We'll get a couple of them as, we get the Sugar Bowl, the Orange Bowl, and then they'll get the other potential trophy as well too. So I guess that's the thing we're most looking forward to, is just not even who's the national champions, but who's just in the game and who will have won both of their bowl games. So shout out to Riley Leonard getting a college football playoff win. Marcus Freeman back for a pause for a third time. Hey, yo! With Molly McGrath. That's a crazy way to cap it off, chat. Let's see. Will we get a wink? We got a smile. We got some more eye contact as well. We were lacking a little eye contact at halftime. A nice little lean in, chat. The body language is very, I don't know if it's inviting, but it's drawing me in. I'm leaning in, chat. I'm $10 says he winks. $10 and a discount at Pura Vida. Link in the description. Shout out. $10, and if you go over to BETSTAMP, it will give you the best odds for all of the college football playoff games tomorrow, and you can find out what the best odds for you to win the most money are at each sportsbook, because that's what BETSTAMP will do for you, people. It will give you, all these